Of course, one of the major functions of a psychologist is to provide this kind of information. How is it that you fool them? How do you deceive them? What do you say? What you don't say? How should you look? What should you wear? How should you cut your hair? You see, all of these things. You see also Monday on that last debate there, puffed eyes, dry features. People are responding as much to that as to anything else. How they responded to Nixon's 5 o'clock shadow. All of these things, of course, are advised upon by psychologists and by other people who manipulate the media. Colors of the labels of the food you buy. Everything in one way or another runs through the psychological machinery as a means of manipulating consciousness and as a means of manipulating behavior and as a means of ultimately of supporting the system itself. So then we can see that the Eurocentric psychological establishment is a political establishment, regardless of its pretensions otherwise. Our next lecture looked at the critique of Eurocentric psychology. And we indicated then that the function of Eurocentric psychology, like the function of any Eurocentric discipline, is to maintain the status quo. Is to maintain, of course, European dominance. It doesn't matter whether it's psychology or sociology, or economics, or mathematics, or engineering, whatever it may be, ultimately it is geared to maintaining that status quo. The function, we said, of Eurocentric psychology is to cure our people into sickness. That the very cure itself represents illness. Because if that cure is designed to adjust our people to a system that works against the interests of those people, certainly then becoming adjusted to that system implies then becoming adjusted to oppression and implies then a certain illness. The psychology and psychotherapy of the European is designed to maintain the social, economic, values relationships. And you can see it even in the relationship itself. White therapist, black patient, white paternalism, same kind of process. White consumerism going on in that therapeutic relationship, white values being projected through the relationship itself again, white man solving black man problem, even often if it's a black man who's doing it. So in the therapeutic process itself is inherent the cultural ideology in and of itself, let alone, of course, the other things that are going on. The function of that psychology, we've learned, is to depoliticize mental illness, to make us think that mental illness is purely a mental problem and not a political problem, not a social problem, not a problem of oppression. To give the individual the impression then that the problem that they're suffering from is merely individual and merely that of personality, and that it is unrelated to the whole of the society in which they find themselves, and to limit then the therapy to the narrow focus of the therapist-client relationship instead of the relationship between European and oppressed. So the therapist, even in their direct relationship, even if it is a black one often, helps to maintain that status quo. So we see then that the Eurocentric psychology is an arm of the state, is a part of the state. And those of us, black psychologists and black social workers, we recognize we still, to a great extent, work for the state and for the city. And we have to analyze our relationship very carefully, as well as our relationship to our clients very carefully, to try to subvert the helping to maintain the status quo through our activities. Those of you who are professionals certainly will have to watch that, because many of us use that idea that I am a professional as an excuse not to become humanly concerned and politically concerned with our situation.
It's time for you and me to unite, to get together and get this big white ache off our back. You got a bad habit. You're hooked and don't know it. You got what's known as white disease. You think you can't get along without the white man. You think you can't get some clothes without the white man. You think you can't get a house without the white man. You think you can't even get a job without the white man. You're worse than a man who thinks he can't get along without heroin. You're worse than the man who thinks he can't get along without morphine. You're worse than the junkie. You're in worse shape than the junkie because the junkie only has a little monkey on his back and you're running around with a big white ape named Uncle Sam on your back.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another another live broadcast on the forecast. I appreciate y'all for coming through. What up, Oni? What's going on, my brother? And first before I say anything, let me say this. Tomorrow with my brother, Black Magus, I'm supposed to be on this black-owned radio station. This is it right here. I'm gonna put it in the chat. It's a black-owned radio station. You know what I'm saying? And I'm supposed to be on there tomorrow. Thought it was PM, but it's 9 a.m. You know what I'm saying? So I'm supposed to be on there at 9 a.m. Chopping it up with my brother, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully an elder will be on there. And I was listening to it earlier, you know what I'm saying? This is pretty dope. They had a sister on there earlier talking about, her thing. And hey, it's a black radio network, you know what I'm saying? So I'll put it in the chat, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go on there tomorrow and it'll be like 9 a.m. my time, on East Coast time, 9 a.m. Like pretty much like 12 hours from now, whatever time it is where you at. So but make sure y'all support that anyway, you know what I'm saying? At least check it out, you know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be a black owned radio station. And so, and like I said, I was listening to it earlier. It was seeming pretty dope to me. So, make sure y'all support that, and yeah, check that out. And before I get into what I'm gonna say, before I say anything else, let me show this, right? Because these is some good words, and hopefully, this is a video about Matron. Y'all subscribe Matron channel. Hopefully, she don't mind me showing it. But I think it was an important message.
Have a listen to this.
James Washington, a United States church historian, says that after every revolution, the winners of that revolution write down what the revolution was about so that their children can learn it, whether it's true or not.
Did you hear that? You are supposed to take control of the narrative and rewrite the story, whether it's true or not. You are supposed to unapologetically tell your children and your grandchildren, your neighbors and friends, your perspective on the story that's happening right now. Because if you don't take control of your narrative, someone else will. And in 50 years or 100 years, people won't recognize you in the story. The characters will have changed and everything will be different. Write your own story, tell your own stories.
Yeah, facts. I agree with that. What's up, Black Magus? So yeah, I was just saying, like, make sure y'all support the radio station. You know what I'm saying? My brother put me onto it, and definitely we'll be up there tomorrow. But yeah, man, those were some wise words by Matron there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like, and we always say this stuff, like, it's gonna be like the Black Civil War, and then when we be like, we's our own worst enemy. And this is really for y'all, you know what I'm saying, like, to come on here and to, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Like, at the end of the day, it's only one mission, and that is, the missions that we know we got to do, and whoever is in the way, you know what I'm saying. But we always got a detour, because I think that we don't want no smoke with nobody else. So we always like get stuck, like every rotation. You just like, yo, no, we got to get rid of this and get rid of that. Right. Cause I'm curious, right? Because where do you draw the line at? You know what I'm saying? Who do we draw the line at? Because some people say stuff that I would be like, would have drawn the line way back there. You feel me? So like, is this whole thing with this, you know what I'm saying? We's our own worst enemy. I don't agree with people saying that, and I don't like when it is said, and that's my opinion. So and I'm gonna let y'all come on here, and if y'all want to say that, but yeah, I'm gonna show this. Y'all didn't answer me except for Oni and MG2 and Raw. I'm gonna ask you this question, you know what I'm saying? Like, and even if you're indifferent to it, it's all good. Just be like, tell me what you think about it. The first thing that comes to your mind when I show this, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna still ask y'all because nobody answered me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just curious, you know.
Hey, Jalen, what do you plan to do with the generational wealth? I mean, what do you plan to do off and on the floor with this new contract?
Well, that's a great question. I want to launch a project to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston. I want to attack the wealth disparity here. I think there's analytics that supports that, stimulating the wealth gap could actually be something that could be betterment for the entire economy. With the
basketball player Jaylen Brown, he signed the biggest basketball contract, and he said he wants to use it to eliminate the pay disparity between Black people and make housing and stuff for Black people. And he says he wants to make Black Wall Streets, started in Boston, but throughout the country, you know what I'm saying, for Black business owners and stuff like that. And he's a basketball player in the NBA, so.
Biggest financial deal in NBA history, it makes sense to talk about, one, your investment in community, but two, also, the wealth disparity here that nobody wants to talk about. It's top 5 in the U.S. It's something that we can all improve on. It's unsettling. And I think through my platform, through influential partners, through selected leaders, government officials, a lot who are in this room, that we can come together and create new jobs, new resources, new businesses, new ideas that could, highlight minorities, but also stimulate the economy and the wealth gap at the same time. I think that could be a mix of commercial entities, real estate, residentials as well. Boston could be, a fully integrated, self-sufficient, hub, attacking minorities and stimulating the wealth gap. I think Boston could be a pilot, not just for wealth disparity here in the U.S., but also for around the world. So you asked me what I wanted to do or what I want to do. One, I want to, attack that wealth gap here in Boston, create a project. Also, I want to help stimulate the overall economy, and I want to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, just your opinion on it. I'm not even going to question your opinion on nothing like that. I just want to know what y'all gonna say about it. We don't do that minority trick bag. So he's powered by white dollars and wants to do for the Black community. This is a timeless tale. Hell, he just said minority. So boom, there's my answer. All right. Yeah, I'm just curious about what y'all gonna say. It's not even the conversation about that. I just wanted to. I just was gonna ask y'all opinion on that. According to Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks, only the government can remedy the wealth gap. Well, some people say that. All right. So, yeah, what you think, KW, Don 7, about that, about Jaylen? All right. So, listen, and then when I look up this thing, when people be like, we our own worst enemy now, just listening to it, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know the type of people that say this stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to say the clones is the ones that usually say this stuff. And listen, man, we got to start watching our language. No, like the whole thing is our greatest enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, even how can something that is created by something be the big? I'm not saying whether it's an enemy or not, but how can you say the creation is more than the creator of it? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, pretty much, you know what I'm saying? When the people who say, we's our own worst enemy, just listening to this stuff. But, like I said, if you feel like, well, there needs to be a Black Civil War and stuff like that, I want to hear about, why. And y'all know I went too far just getting certain stuff, right? So let me just play a little bit for y'all, and then I'm going to put the link in there. Because this is for y'all, because y'all supposed to be telling me, you know, we are our own worst enemy. But
people will forever and always be their own worst enemy. Black people are so uneducated and so lost, and they are the number one group of followers. That's not a fact, but that's what I'm saying. Black people will follow you right off of a cliff just because they are based in irrationality. Yesterday, I made a TikTok saying that Black people are their own worst enemy. Oppression is only a mindset. Discrimination and racism, all that stuff are things that they are choosing to keep alive and relive over and over and over again. And this Black man, of course, commented and said that
yeah,
I
for
was
sure,
putting
Black
on a
Megan.
performance for massa to be accepted by white people. I was acting the way that I act for views and likes. This man couldn't even fathom that someone that could look like him could have so much common sense. He could not.
Right. And then I just tried to
And
find
I'm
someone.
gonna say this on the flip side of it, Charleston White is on the same thing Kanye West on.
Yeah.
Niggas just want to hold up the mirror and show Black people who they really are. Black people get mad at that shit. When a nigga be like, this y'all ain't gonna do shit. Y'all ain't gonna hold the camera. Y'all ain't gonna do nothing. Y'all out there killing your own kind. Why I need to support you when you talking bad on nothing? I need to go support the white people. It's like a flip. It's like we don't get it. We don't get the fact that like we our worst enemy. Like Black people are our worst enemy. Like it's like not them niggas. Like they kind of been let up off us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like they like shit. We ain't gotta do shit. These motherfuckers like we'll throw something out there. These motherfuckers just attack the nigga like they self like. Can you see that shit? Like motherfucker be like, hey, and
all right, so you know, y'all hear that, you know. So people like Kanye West, you know, y'all just tripping, you know what I'm saying? Because we's our own worst enemy, you feel me? And I know some of y'all is gonna agree with this, you know, but you know, I don't know what that's really like based on, you know what I'm saying? No, like that's the thing. We got to start defining what the hell is this enemy here. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't even know who our friends and who our enemies are. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody may be a clone, but they are a clone. You know what I'm saying?
Before I forget, buy these books. Look at them. Do your own research. Listen to this. Listen to this, guys. Listen to this. What is this? What the hell, Coach? What the hell are you talking about? What this got to do with Blacks being our own worst enemy? I'm going to show you something.
And so on. And then
you are big.
Well, this is coming when, you know, there's all of this wealth and you hear about it comes as England is facing rising costs of living, a living crisis, austerity budget cuts, and so on. And then you have those who are asking for reparations for colonialism, and they're wondering, you know, $100 billion, $24 billion here and there, 500 million there. Some people want to be paid back, and members of the public are wondering, why are we suffering when you are, you know, you have all of this vast wealth? Those are legitimate concerns.
Well, I think you're right about reparations in terms of if people want it, though, what they need to do is you always need to go back to the beginning of a supply chain. Where was the beginning of the supply chain? That was in Africa. And when across the entire world, when slavery was taking place, which was the first nation in the world that abolished slavery? The first nation in the world to abolish it.
Yeah, that's a question for y'all in the chat, because we covered this already in the history class, or the history thing. Like, what's the first nation to abolish slavery?
Started by William Wilberforce was the British. In Great Britain, they abolished slavery. 2,000 naval men died on the high seas trying to stop slavery. Why? Because the African kings were rounding up their own people. They had them on cages waiting in the beaches. No one was running into Africa to get them. And I think you're totally right. If reparations need to be paid, we need to go right back to the beginning of that supply chain and say, who was rounding up their own people and having them handcuffed in cages? Absolutely. That's where they should start. And maybe, I don't know, the descendants of those families where they died in the high seas trying to stop the slavery, that those families should receive something too, I think, at the same time.
It's an interesting discussion. No,
I want you to see the look. I want you to see the look on Don Lemon's face. I want you to see the look on Don Lemon's face. I'm going to play it from here. Oh, the look on his face, because I'm gonna tell you something. Black people will say, because it's a white woman, she's racist, yada, 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 blah, this, squad. And we don't, no, not going to play the race card today. What does this have to do with the subject matter? Blacks have always been our worst enemy. I have the books, John Henrik Clarke, Dr. Ben, especially John Henrik Clarke. But the books that I'm going to drop in the link to drop today, these books are heavy.
Now, John Henry Clark never said nothing. He said, I will play this whole video for y'all, just this little bit, but he never said nothing that this dude said. And, you know, like, I mean, I don't know.
Some of these books was written by Africans. All of the books was written by blacks. Blacks have always been our own worst enemy. You see it going on today in our neighborhoods. I've been hearing, and remember, I used to be on that other side. I used to think the same thing. Blame everything on Whitey. Whitey did this. Oh, they putting guns in the community. Oh, they throwing the drugs in there. Oh, they went to Africa and kidnapped us. That was the biggest lie ever told. Ain't nobody kidnapped. Ain't no white folks jump off no boats and kidnapped us in Africa. You know who kidnapped us in Africa? Black people. I know they're going to say, oh, you a coon. You talking white supremacist talking points. Say what you want to say. I have the documentation. We have always sold each other out. We have always sold our women out. We have always sold our children out. And we have always sold our men out. I read a lot of books, dog. I got another book I'm gonna start reading now. I learned a lot when I was in Nation Islam. I didn't learn none of this stuff in the nation. What happened was I learned a lot in the nation, but me being in the nation, I figured out how to study other things. I found out about John Henrik Clarke through Malcolm X. I found out about just a lot of different scholars. And then I have a friend of mine. This guy's very, very smart, really, really bright guy. He was in the nation with me as well. But he started branching out, and he led me down a whole lot of different paths.
1,000.
Sleeping with this guy and that guy and doing other things. And, you know, and then as sometimes we get a little older.
All right. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe y'all agree with him. Well, a lot of people that say this, we's our own worst enemy stuff does, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are people who do that kind of stuff. Yeah, you heard him. Yo, what up, MG2? What I'm saying is, like, be careful what we say. Like, understand what the enemy is the creator of the clone machine. You destroyed the machine, you know what I'm saying? Like, that creating the clones, you know what I'm saying? If the clones is in this way, it's only one war, but you is not your own biggest enemy, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you say, you know. I'm gonna play one more thing, then I'm gonna put the link in there, right? And then I'm gonna go through until people come on here. All right, I'm gonna skip to this one, right? Because this one is on my side, right? So LeBron James he was like, y'all remember when that thing happened when the 5 black cops and stuff, and LeBron was like, oh yeah, we's our own worst enemy, you know what I'm saying? And I like how this brother put it.
Reactions. But probably nobody in American sports has a bigger platform than LeBron James. And his response on Twitter was, we are our own worst enemy. And I'm telling y'all, Brum was flat out wrong to say that. And I'm about to explain to you why. But before I do, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing to hit that button. This is the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game. Put it on something. I am your homeboy first. You feel me? As I said, subscribe, put all your people on it.
All right.
Amazon of black culture. First of all, this is not a LeBron James hit piece. You know, ain't like I'm so much older, like I'm his OG, and it's like we the same age. But as somebody that was born in 84 as well, I'm proud of this man. Family man.
Like exactly, bigging them up.
out of poverty and into some real money. And he has been more vocal when it comes to social issues, when it comes to shit. But he's not always right. And this is one of those times where while I get his sentiment, I get what the emotion behind it is to sit up there and watch black men, black cops beat on another brother like that. I get why he felt some type of way.
Or you can't like him, Bakari, because he's Asian and black person in America, so you can't like him. Then how about that?
Okay, here's what I'm saying: when you got such a big platform like that, you got to be careful with what you say, because our enemies, these white supremacists, will take this man's words and try to use it against us in our movement for freedom. They would try to take Brum words, somebody they hate. They hate this man now, okay? They would try to take his words and they to provide them with comfort and cover. They say, no, it ain't us. See, even LeBron James says it's not us. They're their own worst enemy. That's what we've been trying to tell you. They are the reason why they can't pull themselves up. They are the reason why their schools are fucked up and their streets are fucked up and why their cities don't have clean water and why this and that and all that kind of shit. They are the reason. They will take Brum's words and use that shit for comfort and cover. You got to be careful. Got to be careful. So I quote tweeted what Bron said, and I stated this. I said, while I know he's reacting to the police violence on behalf of black cops, this is a bad take for someone with such a following. We are not our worst enemies. We are a team who started the game down 20, who makes dumb turnovers. We're responsible for the turnovers, not the negative 20.
Hurry, hello window. My bad. I ain't gonna play too much more because it's kind of long, but
I think a sports metaphor there was appropriate. You know, many times, you know, I relate shit to sports. You know, as a former coach and player growing up and all that kind of stuff, sports been a gigantic part of my life. Hey, I got a sports show. So this country, from 1619 to now, we started our lives in this country down in the game of life.
Down, yo. Yeah, down.
But to our ancestors, you bring them from their homes to the place they don't know where the fuck they are. And we've never, ever to this day been really made to feel at home here. Even though since then, they were generating, we were born here, we still like you at home, but you still get a road game feel in this bitch. You understand? And we start the game down 20. Like you from behind, you playing catch up is what I'm saying. Whether it be economically speaking or whatever, we're playing catch up. The people that had centuries long head starts.
Millennia. Like,
hell, even white immigrants that came over here after our ancestors got here had a better chance than us. So ain't no way we our own worst enemy, because we ain't do none of that shit to ourselves. Now, some of the shit we do, it's like when a team is down, you got to be perfect, damn near, to come back. Like for the Patriots to come back in that Super Bowl down 28-3, everything had to go right. Yeah, Brady had to turn up, and he gets credit for that. But also that defense had to start goddamn bowing up and doing something. You feel me? For the Lakers to come back that year, you know, in that classic game 7 against Portland. You know, I don't know, the one where Kobe, come back to happen, you had to go get a bucket, but you had to come on the other end and stop a bucket. Like, you had to be perfect. and we haven't been perfect. It's tough to be perfect. I often tell my wife this, and I want y'all to remember this. It takes an extraordinary person to overcome extraordinary circumstances. And most people just ordinary.
Damn, I'm gonna let it stop right there. Yo, what up, bro? But yeah, definitely. It's a good brother, you know what I'm saying? All right, so like I said, man, this is on the topic too, you know what I'm saying? If you feel like we's our own worst enemy, and like I said, I understand the sentiment, but the clone is not no, that I mean I feel you, Roger, but that's not the point. The point is like when you're like you know, never mind. But if you feel like we our own worst enemy, you know what I'm saying, then say it, because this brother is just a regular brother, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, but he was speaking on the you know, is you your own worst enemy thing, you know what I'm saying? So I'll do that, and if y'all come on, y'all can come on and say what you got to say. But I'm gonna go back to where I was at first, where they was talking about this brother. But listen to her.
Reparations does get very complicated, and I know that there are a lot of people that advocate for that. But beyond that, I have to ask you,
what's complicated about it?
Where would you be today without slavery?
That's a great question. That's what we call one of those counter.
No, Raw, it's when he's saying we are our own worst enemy. You know what I'm saying? He was using a metaphor when it comes to sports. Like, that's why you don't say that stuff. Like, bro, like, it's like you coming down, like, you behind, you playing catch up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you at the bottom in every statistic. You know what I'm saying? So every little mistake stands out that much more. But, you know what I'm saying? Everybody else understands that they are not their own worst enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they will harm, do all these other things to their own community, but they understand who the enemy is, you know, and they understand what to go and get, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, he was just using a sports metaphor when it comes to that, like explaining, like, you know, because LeBron James was like, oh, we's our own worst enemy. Because like I said, the people who tend to say that have been like, you know, the clones, you know. But
conversation around reparations does get very complicated, and I know that there are a lot of people that advocate for that. But beyond that, I have to ask you,
what's complicated about it?
Where would you be today without slavery?
That's a great question. That's what we call one of those counterfactual hypotheticals, right? It's hard for me to tell you where I'd be without slavery because our entire history was interrupted by it. But Black people or African people.
Hold on. Yo, what up, Black Magus? Yo, you hear me? You on mute?
All right, there we go. Man, yeah, I jumped in here. I ain't set myself up. I got a camera on and everything.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, no, I'm good. You good, bro? BB for Hodie, Black Liberation. Man.
What up, my brother?
Yo. Oh, man. You showing the, I don't know. Let me ask you, because obviously you know better than I do. The people who you've shown today, how much Black credit they have? Can you hear me?
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. What do you mean?
From the community. Like, I already know an NBA player. I already know he's gonna have full support of the community. But the other jokers you showed, the ones who were, you know, we our own worst enemies. We put ourselves in slavery and all this other bullshit.
Well, that's because, my brother, like, we have been saying this stuff like, oh, we gonna have to go after the Black people first, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all have been saying that this is the stuff y'all been saying, but I can only find the people like that, you know what I'm saying, that be saying it. But like, it's no different than when y'all be like, oh, we got to go after this Black person first or that Black person first or something like that. You feel me?
Yeah. But people like this are why I say what I say, that we will have to go after those, and they're not agent provocateurs, because provocateurs actually, um, I guess I would really classify more of the people who work behind the scenes as the agent provocateurs, but they create the actual agents among us. And I want to go to the whole Charleston White comment, right? Let me stop walking here so I'm not breathing all heavy. Charleston White. I had this conversation with somebody after I seen a video of Charleston White where he was saying that all men are not the same. I don't know if anybody's seen this on social media, but he was making the comparison of some men don't beat their wives, some men don't cheat on their wives, all this blase stereotypical stuff that they say about us. And he was making the comparison that some men cope with their nature. Okay, in essence, he was saying that people who are abusive, who do destructive things to their women, the ones who don't do it, that they're fighting what's in their nature. And just hearing him say that, it was like, yo, it's not in us to be savages. Why would you sit here and say we're fighting against our nature? No, we're fighting against our programming. And when I was having this conversation with somebody, because I don't really follow this clown, he put me on game and let me know that when this guy kind of hit the scene, he said, hey, I want to find my way into the algorithm, into the black community, doing this internet thing, but I understand that I have to create a character in order to do it. And so here he is, supposedly, I don't know what you call the stuff that he's doing, ousting the black community, but you're doing it on a public platform. So only people who are going to really enjoy it are other brain dead black people who will agree with it. And I'm not, let me rephrase that because I don't want to say brain dead, because not all of them who's I'm sure watch or support this guy is that way, but they are hearing a different narrative, so they're being shaped into believing that kind of stuff. But you know that the enemies of black people are hearing these things and that they wholeheartedly believe in that stuff. So then when you throw in the whole we sold ourselves into slavery, let me tell you, I have watched white supremacists since before Jeannie has been doing interviews with them. And I've heard what they've said. I'm watching them now as he's talking with them. And let me tell you, it's about 70% of white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them, they don't even use that trope of black people sold black people into slavery. So, and I know I've spoken about this before on here, that we see that the enemy has put he's done his job well to create mouthpieces who will speak out against other black people, and they have black skin. And so now he can just remove himself from the equation and say, look, y'all worst enemies, y'all can't even get along. Look at how y'all treat each other. To the point where we getting these kind of talking points now. And that's what breeds this intersectionality, integration, every reason to want to miscegenate yourself, your entire bloodline, your DNA, spit in the womb of your mother, and be with those who are not of your ilk. This stuff is disgusting, man, and we got to be more wise to these kind of things.
Yeah, definitely, yo. We definitely do need to be more wise, but this is the problem, you know what I'm saying? When we saying let's go after said person, you know what I'm saying, without talking about at least having plans for the thing that creates said character, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the biggest issues. But before my brother MD2 came on, so I'm gonna let MD2 go in, then I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say.
Oh, brother Forecast, I was waiting to hear what you had to say, then, man.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, well, that that's the problem. If we ain't talking about destroying that whole process of making, it's just gonna be somebody else to take his place another 10 years from now. And no, we don't understand like what an enemy is, what this is, with that. Like but they understand, like, oh well, that black on black crime. I know that they understand that stuff, and it's not their problem. You know what I'm saying? Like they understand who they are. They are willing to die for what they believe in. You know what I'm saying? But we sit here and talk about we are our own worst enemy. They still not going to say that, but they are going to put action in. But go ahead, MG2.
Yeah, I'm a contrarian. Okay, I'm gonna come from a contrarian point because a lot of us deal with semantics, and a lot of the semantics get us on these these rabbit holes and these trails that we can't get out of, on what words are said and why they're said, and what something means and what it doesn't mean. When you say we're our own worst enemy, our own. And then, worst means, yes, there's no other enemy that is greater than that of us. Now, I'm a contrarian. I could say, in a way, that is probably the most true statement that's ever out there right now, that we are our own worst enemy. A lot of the folks won't agree with yours truly, and I expect that. Or I could say, to get out of the rabbit hole of semantics, we are our prioritized and unfortunately most effective enemy, which we are. We are our most effective enemy. Maybe not our worst enemy, maybe not our own worst enemy, but we are definitely the most effective enemy against each other. And I could give you some examples, not just individuals that want social media street cred, like the individuals that have been played, like the Lamont Hills and others that you played on the videos. I could give you one word, a 5-letter word right now that's proven everything. It's called Niger. Or I could go back to that horror anthology that was depicting something. It was done back in 1995. I don't think you guys remember that, but it's the last segment started Rosalind Cash, and it was called Tales from the Hood. And she made the whole statement about Cain and Abel, of brothers shooting each other in the street. When I say we're our most effective enemy, doesn't mean we're our own worst enemy. There are enemies definitely greater that do us much more harm than we could do each other. But in terms of efficaciousness, in terms of the damaging of our ability to control our future and take over the world, we've done ourselves more than anyone else on this planet ever can. If you want to just go back to Dr. Chancellor Williams' book, that should prove everything that I'm telling you. The thing when I say the most effective, like I said, one word, Niger. If you see what's going on with this ECOWAS nonsense and the fact that it has to be a question that we protect each other, whether it's in the West Coast or in West Africa, or we protect each other in DC. It tells you that we're very effective in destroying each other more than anyone else on this planet. And clearly that only makes sense. The individuals that are within your home, that live in your home, are more effective doing damage than the folks that are outside your home. The folks outside your home don't know the inner workings of what makes your home your home. So therefore, if you got somebody that's running and doing damage, they could destroy you 10 times over than someone outside of your house. Again, the more effective damage. And when I say that, is when you ask that question, the fact that it has to be even a question, are we our own worst enemy, proves that clearly we are more effective. Because that should not even be a question. It's like asking if water's wet. I'm a contrarian there, Brother Forecast. And when I see the things that we are in terms of what we do, what we've done, what we want to do, what we pretend to do, what we say we're going to do, or whatever, it only pretends to the fact that, yes, we are more effective as each other's enemy than anyone else. What this phone that I'm talking to you on, was it built by our hands? Do we profit on the resources of the inventions of the things that we do? What language am I speaking, as Dr. Amos Wilson said in Blueprint for Black Power? I noticed that many of us have to go eat. Some of us go fast, but clearly sooner or later, you're gonna have to put something in your body. Where did that food come from? Who brought it to your plate? Who grew it for you? Who went ahead and if you have to go and see a doctor, and especially many had to in the last 2 years because of this Chinese disease they brought to us, how many of you guys that didn't take those shots, how many of you guys, if you had the sniffles and you had to go see somebody, whose institutions did you have to see? And if you have to take medicine, whose medicine did you have to take, and who manufactured it for you to take? Who's raising your children? Who owns the servers and the satellites that this data, as my voice going to Brother Forecast and Black Maggots, who owns those satellites and who profits from it? Not us. We're just consumers of someone else's profits. This is being more effective as damage to each other. Not our own worst enemy, Brother Forecast, but we are definitely the most effective enemies anyone's ever proved. Why? Because we live in our own house and we're not controlling our own house. Somebody else is controlling our own house, whether it's in Niger or whether it's where you are. Like I said, I'm a contrarian, Brother Forecast, but one thing I do speak is something that's not just facts, not just evidence, not just reality. This is that thing. It's not only just truth, but this is the thing that we can't deny. Like I said, beauty, truth, history, facts, and evidence are in the eye of the beholder. But this is the record. And you can't undo this record that I'm telling you. It's beyond truth. It's something that exists. I'll pass the mic.
Hey, real quick Forecast before you go in with what he just said, right? With Brother MG2's just said. How about we change the word?
No.
How about we say black people are their own biggest obstacle?
No, because I still disagree with that, and I disagree. But and I said this for a reason, because like on the last one, like we get to the point where it is some real like we be like when we go after the whatever we got to do, first we got to go after the black people. I strongly disagree with keep saying that over and over and getting stuck in the same cycle. And like you said, MD2, it is the record. The record is shown like you don't have they are educating your children. They are producing these things. Like you could say like, oh well, it's because that's because they got you scared to do anything. We scared to say everything. And like even then, that's why we say we are our own worst enemy, because they have programmed you through like violence and all of this stuff. I'm not gonna ignore. Are we an obstacle? Is there like problems from within? Absolutely, it's not denying that. But I understand why. I can how can the sick person be the one who is like for the thing? Now it's up to you to make the cure. You know what I'm saying? That's absolutely true. You know what I'm saying? But it is the record. Like, look at what you're being produced right now. You have to take the reins and understand, first of all, like, we ain't our own worst enemy. Maybe we should start trusting each other, because they is our enemy. So if we are our own enemy, why would I send my own kids to? I heard somebody was doing one to say, oh, well, black people is the new KKK. So why would you want to unify with the KKK if you think that they're the new KKK? Like, if you think that black people is the only ones robbing, stealing, killing each other, and doing all this other stuff, and we say it's the mentality that we do have, that we demonstrate. Like, we think that's the whole worst enemy stuff, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? So I would say, I just disagree with that,
So here's the reason why I said obstacle, right? Because I don't believe in the worst enemy thing. I don't. I do know that, again, there will be a wall of paid for agents as we fight for black power throughout our lives. Like that, I mean, that's been proven through history itself. Chancellor Williams' destruction of black civilization. It was Negroes, and I say Negroes just for this conversation, but it was, okay, I'll use the word sellouts then. It was sellouts who did the miscegenation. That's proven in history. When we look at Martin Delany, it was sellouts. It was Frederick Douglass who fought back against Martin Delany. Who else? We got Marcus Garvey. Again, sellouts. Every time we look at black people who stood up to make a difference, we see that before it was a white-skinned person, it was a black-skinned person publicly that people would see fighting back against their narratives. So the reason I say obstacle is because here's the thing. We have been on this piece of land, this continent, whatever you want to call it, for over 400 years. And I'm only talking to those who understand or I guess I would say identify with the stolen legacy, the enslaved ancestors who were stolen from Africa. We've been here that long, and we didn't get any of these things that all these other groups of people get. But what have we done? We have survived. We have thrived. And every time that we thrive, they always come and they destroy us. Now they just do it internally. That's why I say we're our own biggest obstacle, because we've done these things before. It's only something that we need to get the race over that wall. I just see the wall at this point being, and you heard me speak about this earlier today on the radio program, the N-word mentality. You know, the N-word is the biggest form of a Black individualized Negro peeing. This person will do any and everything to destroy him or herself and the community for whatever shekels or recognition that they're going to get from whites or people who aren't, I mean, let's, at this point, everybody who they're shucking and jiving for aren't even white people, because we see as there's Black people who do it for Asians, Hispanics, Pakistanis, Ukrainians. So I'll just stop right there with saying that's what I mean by being the biggest obstacle, because it's things that we've done before. We just need to get the N-word imagery and mindset out of our people.
Yeah, real quick before MD2 go. I'm sorry, MD2. Real quick, Black Megas. But my thing is, like, when you say that, it's like saying like, oh, well, we need to get the middleman, like the front man, or like, who would you rather do business with, the middleman or the supplier? Like, who are they selling out to? Like, you know what I'm saying? If they like, that's our responsibility to have, like, well, they selling out to us. We the ones, we got the MD2 had put it, they do it for peanuts. Like, we got the peanut factory, but we doing it, you know what I'm saying? That's our responsibility to do that, you know. But, you know, like I said, that's like trying to shut down like a T-Mobile store when I'm like trying to get the whole corporation shut down. You know what I'm saying? There'll just be another store pop up around the block, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not going after the whole root of the problem. You feel me? Like, I'll go ahead, MD2, and then I'm gonna let Black Megas go back in.
Brother Forecast, yeah, I'm loving what you just said in terms of it's like looking at the tree and not looking at the forest. And I've been trying to tell folks the difference between the macro and the micro lately. And I'm glad you said that, because you just piqued something in something that I had been trying to tell folks for the last several days, in terms of how micro things impact macro, but it's usually the macro that's going to be the more determining factor. Okay. Shutting down the T-Mobile store means nothing if you don't shut down the corporation. The sellouts, and the reason I say that, the sellouts are still just a product. All these sellouts are just a product of the greater problem. The greater problem is we don't own and control our destiny. We don't own and control the things that we rely on to go ahead and stay on this planet as African people. I had to delineate the difference between your greatest, or I should say, for lack of a better term, your worst enemy and your more effective enemy. And the reason, like I said, I didn't want to get tied up into semantics, because being effective is more important than just being the biggest, the worst, or the greatest. Here's what I mean. Once upon a time, there was this young African man. He was trying to go ahead, and he had just, killed a wildebeest. He was going to drag everything and bring it back to his family. He was fixing to go there. And what happened, and I think this happened over there, that mountain that it's over in Rwanda. And there's like a lot of volcano activity. And this was a while back. But this young man, he just killed this wildebeest. He was going to bring it back. He's got a young wife and a young child. Actually, he's got 2 children. He was just so proud that he was able to do this for his family. And so he got to this area, and he went ahead and he saw that there was this whole river of lava It was like, but it wasn't, it wasn't, so wide that, of course he didn't want to go in there with a boat. But then he saw on the other side that there was this mountain. And the thing is he's looking at this going, I got to get this stuff back to my family. I don't want my family to starve. And so this giraffe came up to him and says, look, bro, I know you got some problems here. We got the same kind of problem. How are you going to go and feed your family? You got this lava. Now, the lava is not, 10 or 12 miles long or nothing, but you got to either go across that lava or you got to go and hike this mountain. And so he told the giraffe, well, I don't know, man, because, that mountain's too tall. By the time I get over there, I don't even know if this wildebeest that I got, it might rot, my family not eat. I got to go all through this. And then he says, but I have to find a way through this lava. And the giraffe told him, you could either go with the worst, i.e. the biggest, or you could go through the most effective thing that might kill you. What is the most effective thing that would kill him? Walking through the lava or trying to go over a mountain? That young brother went over the mountain because he knew what was effective in destroying his life. What more effective is the thing he had to deter and walk away from, and that was that lava. That's why I had to say we are our most effective obstacles. Effective, as Brother Maga says, obstacles. I say enemies. I don't care what you want to call it. Because if you're not out there to compete against someone else and you're competing against your own team, even if it's unconsciously, it doesn't have to be proactive. It could actually be passively. It doesn't have to be actively an enemy. You could passively be an enemy by who you shop with, by the things you say on social media. Like many Negroes are out there calling themselves gender wars and FBAs and whatnot. They're pseudo active, but they're mostly passive enemies to the entire African construct, because many of them so inept they don't know what they're doing. They're giving an advantage to a real enemy. Think of it this way: you're on the court, you got LeBron James, you got Steph Curry, and everything else. And so Steph Curry, he's just hiking up numbers. I mean, he's just putting points on the board. And then all of a sudden, after he gets the ball, and he decides, wait a minute, I got to tie my shoe and lay the ball down. He passively put himself at risk for the other opponents to go ahead and win. He didn't just actively throw the ball over to the Knicks and say, hey, you guys go ahead. That's active. But he's still an effective enemy to the team he's on. See, the thing is, a lot of our folks, Brother Forecast, don't realize that we are, as Brother Maga said, we are obstacles. And it's whether we do it passively or actively, I don't care. Water is wet no matter how wet it gets. The thing is to recognize that. A lot of us don't want to recognize it because we have this intransigence toward, things that make our egos feel a little displaced. Because of course, it makes sense, after 2,000 seasons, as the book says, of us being marginalized, enslaved, all kinds of stuff. Of course, we're going to have some kind of displacement of our egos when truth goes ahead and makes its way on our doorstep, or better yet, when the record makes its way on our doorstep. We don't want to see it. This cognitive dissonance away from reality. It's okay. I'm not mad at us for that. I understand the source. But the fact of the matter remains. We are our most effective problem. Whether it's passive, whether it's active, whether it's unconscious or conscious, whether we know it or not. And the worst is if we don't know it, or even worse than that is if we know it and not do anything about it. The thing is more important, the first step is to recognize that, yes, we are a hurdle. But like most Black athletes, hurdles are something we overcome in a heartbeat if we want to do it. I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, I feel you on that. But I'll say this, right? Because this is why I would even disagree with the most effective, because listen, like they got us like terrified just by like MD2. I know not you, I know not Charles Brothers who is doing this stuff, but they have put in action, bloods talks, what I'm saying? Like, they just spilled our blood, what I'm saying? And that's why people won't do nothing now. Like, even if Steph Curry, like, not even tie his shoe, if he throw a bad pass, throw a behind the back pass when he's supposed to, when they go out of bounds, he's still not the biggest enemy or most effective. LeBron James on the other team is still the most effective enemy that you have. You know what I'm saying? Now it just stands out because he might be down, like, what I'm saying, they coming back or whatever, and they taking the lead. and it stands out like, oh man, I made a horrible play, I feel bad, like yo, like yeah, we got to correct that and not let that happen again. But it's still not the most effective like thing against us, like using military forces, taking action, all of that stuff, putting us in the position is the most effective. Now I could get what you're saying, like if you're saying we it's the action that we need to be taking is why we, but even going to that, like we can't act like, man, like everything that hasn't happened, like even the food deserts, like it's not a mistake, like in the, like going from like where we were to where we are now, like creating all of those programs in like 1965, taking out certain people, doing certain things was effective moves. Their think tanks is effective, you know what I'm saying? They work. And we don't have, well, we do have think tanks, but you know what I'm saying, like there are certain people who do, but you know, but I'll let Black Megas go in, and Bakari running from it, so you know what I'm saying, he talking about some limbs to get to the rules.
Man,
What'd you say, Black Megas?
Can you hear me?
Out. Yeah,
I don't know what the hell going on, man. It's like they know what I'm about to say. It's like they know what I'm about to say. So yeah, I won't even go on that. I won't even go on that point then. On what I was going to say. Let me first say that, as MG2 just said, semantics. Like, I don't like beating around the bush when I talk about stuff, but because we're on YouTube, there's certain things we can say and certain things that we can't say. But for the sake of this conversation, I understand that we're using analogies to bring things together, using ball players and stuff like that. But I don't want people who might not understand to get confused or dissuaded to what we're saying. What we're saying is, at least what I know me and MG2 are saying, and Forecast, I know that you'll understand this when I say it. We know that there are people above, you know, all right, we live in America, so America is a hierarchy. We know that the hierarchy is based upon the people who created it. So that group of people reside at the top of the hierarchy. We know they created this hierarchy, and when it was put in place, Black people were at the bottom of this hierarchy. And as Dr. Claude Anderson and many others have constantly said throughout time immemorial here, we remain at the bottom of this hierarchy. So I know who my worst enemy is. There is no doubt about that. I know who my worst enemy is. I know who the collaborators are of my enemy that continue to keep us as a group of people down at the bottom of this hierarchy. It just so happens that the people who keep us at the bottom of the hierarchy, as again Carter G. Woodson, you see, we're not giving hyperbole. We're not talking about things that are myth, giving out any kind of fanciful tales. We have all of the documented history. We can pick up countless books to see that every time we rose up, who was there to stop us, or who was our first line of infringement. And it, at least 70% of the time, it has been people with dark skin. Now it's being supercharged because everything is identity politics. I don't know how many people are out there now talking about Black people or this or Black people or that. I only always speak about the two or the three biggest ones that I know, which is Dane Calloway, Yvette Carnell, and Tariq Nasheed. All three are pushing all three different identities. But nobody wants to be African. We know that we can point to a place on the map where Black people live in mass. But you ask a Black person here in America where they're from. I'm from Atlanta. I'm from Detroit, New Jersey. They'll name the city, and then they can't give you anything else. You ask them where their lineage comes from, and a lot of these people think that they know where their lineage comes from because who did they rely on to tell them where their lineage come from? They relied on the enemy. I'm gonna send my DNA over to this place, and they're gonna tell me who I am and where I come from. Yeah, I know my heritage now. Okay, if that's what they want to believe, I can understand. We are a people who are starved for knowledge. Make no mistake about that. Our people are starved for knowledge. We may think that, we have a bunch of Pookies, Ray Rays, Watermelon Nikas, and Keishas. We may think we have all of that, but that's because we are a people who are starved for knowledge. And the people who are starved for knowledge have no self-identity. So they will grasp on to that which sounds good, which looks good, which feels good. The 9 areas of people activity, as Neely Fuller has taught us, is being warred upon us in every unimaginable way. I'm sorry, every imaginable way, but there's also unimaginable ways possible. When we look at these lockdowns, that's a whole different ball game. You can't tell me that black people are our own worst enemies. So you're telling me black people concocted this bioweapon called COVID-19? Hell no. Now, I will say that when we look at Tuskegee 2.0, they did it to us with getting a black nurse out there again to tell black people to come out, take this shot. So right there is where me and MG2 are talking about, that there are those obstacles who, whether knowingly or unknowingly, passively or actively, they're working on behalf of our enemy to destroy us. For whatever means possible, that's what they're doing. And the ones who do it actively, I don't think these people have a soul in their heart. Because I could look at Snoop Dogg and see how much success he has gotten doing stuff with Martha Stewart, but I can't look back at the community that he came from and see gang violence, gun violence, black unity. I can't see any progress towards anything good, but I can see all of the negative still being hyped up. I can still see black men calling black women B words. And Ice Cube still, the last that I seen in, what was it, 2018, 2019, somebody asked him, do you still call black women B words? And he said, yeah. A B is a B. That's Ice Cube. Mac 10 did a song talking about She Swallows. In the song, he talks about a girl being 14 years old. He didn't care. He know her throat game is good. And it's like, yo, this ain't us. And we need to call out these frauds. We need to move these obstacles out of the way. The biggest obstacles that we have are the people who get the microphone. And the people who get the microphone, always, I don't care what nobody says, always fleece black people. Because those who are dyed in the wool for the community, uplifting us, uplifting our race, they never get a microphone. They have to create their own microphone. And then they have to rely on those who are of like mind to raise their voices up to the masses. Problem is, our speakers are not as loud as our enemy speakers. I'll stop with that.
All right. Oh, wait. And real quick, MD2, somebody came on here, but they got a Dr. Clark as my idol, so I don't know who they is. You know what I'm saying? So, if you could show your picture in the back while you're in the back. But I'll say this, Black Magus, because y'all keep saying that it's like some kind of metaphor or something like that. I'm like dead serious. You know what I'm saying? I disagree with when people be like, yo, no, we have to go after our own first. It's always going to be, because you like just discounting like the whole process in the first place. Like, And like these things is going to keep happening. Like you keep saying, like, well, yeah, the person who's following me, so I'm gonna be like, oh, let me get this black girl who followed me in the store fired. Now I got rid of that problem. It's just gonna be another one there, you know what I'm saying? And but I'm gonna let, because he came on here, and then because I want to go to like, just to close out, I want to show that thing with France and Nigeria and stuff. But go ahead, MD2.
I'm glad you guys said it, man. You guys are just definitely piquing my interest in a lot of stuff. Man, oh man. Excellent conversation there, Brother Forecast, about folks that are continually saying, well, we have to destroy each other, and that's the only way we can destroy an enemy. I'm just paraphrasing kind of what the gist of what I got. And Black Magus, you have hit every point.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've hit every point on my mind. Everything that you said, I was thinking right before you said it. Let me tell you something. When we talk about this situation with Niger, again, like I said, what's more of an effective obstacle, if you want to call it, or I call it enemy, or I could say an effective priority to get rid of or to fix? I look at the effective, and then I look at what's the worst, okay? The worst is, of course, United States, France, Western Empire. That's the worst. You know, when you've got a country that literally 1 out of 3 light bulbs in France is powered by uranium from Niger and Burkina Faso, yet only 8% of the citizens in Niger have electricity. Yeah, in other words, they Niger, the citizens of Niger get 0.015% of the wealth that their uranium does, that it gets, but Europe gets over 99.93%, something like that, crazy. But anyways, I say, what's the worst problem? Yes, the worst problem are the ones who are actually, you know, clearly they're that lava. Oh no, excuse me, they're that mountain. That's the United States, that's NATO, that's whatever, Western powers. But the more effective problem we have is ECOWAS, is African Union, is all these other sellouts that are saying, no, we like the status quo of Africans being marginalized by Western powers, being raped and exploited by Western powers, because it keeps us wealthy and some measurement of wealth. That's the mentality that they have. So they're more effective, you know, being, you know, doing the damage. Yet France, United States, and Russia and NATO and all that is worse. They're the worst enemy we have. But then I could say it on a micro scale, or I could say it's something that's a little bit less recent. I go back to W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey, or W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. I go back to those days. See, the thing is what was more effective in keeping us in not just mental, but economic and all this, in other words, like you said, in that, as you said, Black Magus, I deem it almost like a totem pole. We're at the bottom of a so-called totem pole. I'm just paraphrasing. But what has happened? We had one individual, back when they called it a great debate, who was literally more effective at keeping us marginalized for the next 70 years. Yet many thought the other guy was the worst. And I say, what was more effective in terms of us? And this, again, the thing you saw in Niger and what's going on there is active. That is active, showing you exactly what you have to prioritize in terms of the obstacles we have. But passive is W.E.B. Du Bois. A lot of folks aren't going to like to hear this. Hey, he passively was an obstacle and a more effective problem that we have, even though he thought he was doing the right thing. But you see where we are now, again, the record, not just history, not just evidence, facts, or whatever, the record is showing, because of that model of talented tenth or assimilation, or we've got this amalgamated homogenous society that we're part Europeans now. Clearly, the evidence where we are as African people in this world has not done us any service following or even adhering to that effective damage that W.E.B. Du Bois had brought us. Whereas if we had a Marcus Garvey, Booker T. Washington, we would be we would be the antithesis of that, in a much better position that we, as in controlling and owning the things we do, rely on, need, and want as African people. So that's a more passive version of it. There were so many things, Black Magus, that you brought up. I don't want to rehash it, but when you brought up Tuskegee, that was something I was thinking of Tuskegee right before you said it. I said, this brother's he's hitting the nail on the head. Check this out. The ones that came up with that syphilis, they went ahead and, what they called bad blood, and gave them, the individuals that created this so-called experiment, that's our worst enemy, without a doubt. Because, of course, it's genocide. but it was effective when they went to Nurse Rivers. It was more effective in terms of, hey, this could get done faster. You brought up Ice Cube, and you brought up, and I'm glad you did, because that's something I've been kind of railing on lately. It's brother Jackson. The folks that went ahead and profited on the guns that are in the neighborhoods that just killed the sister in Atlanta the other day, as well as the ones that killed each other in Chicago, Indiana, you name it. The individuals that created the mechanism for that to happen, yes, they are our worst, for lack of a better term, our worst priority in terms of something we need to get rid of. But it's more effective when you get Boys in the Hood to glorify it, Mr. Ice Cube, or you get NWA songs or whatever, hip hop or Lil Wayne to glorify it. That's more effective damage to us. I won't say the worst, but I say it has impacted us. No different than Nurse Rivers, no different than ECOWAS and AU were doing in Niger, no different than W.E.B. Du Bois, and no different than what they did to Malcolm X or Brother Khalid Muhammad. It's just one of those things that, like I said, I didn't want to get caught up in semantics, but sometimes semantics might be able to clarify certain things for myself. Maybe not anyone else, but for myself. And I got to thinking, if I understand, overstand, and understand that this exists, then it also gives me the ability to go ahead and change it, which is more important than anything else. Is if I know that I have an effective problem that is going to do more damage, even though it might not be worse in terms of its magnitude, but I know it does more damage in terms of what it can do. It's like malaria kills more individuals on this planet than cancer. Cancer is worse in terms of its debilitating and its long-term effects, but malaria kills more. It's more effective in its death rate. So if I understand that happens, then I know exactly, okay, what do I do to change this? It's not going ahead and saying, well, I'm going to kill all these black folk first, and then that way I could get to my enemy. That's foolish. I just know that if those individuals, sellouts or whatever, are more effective, I know how to deal with that effective problem to go ahead and counteract, become an antibody against the quote unquote sellouts. And in the meantime, I get rid of the problem that created those sellouts, because it's the worst problem that many times creates the more effective problem. Kind of recursive, kind of symbiotic, but a lot of times that happens. Don't ask me, just ask Larry Elder, Jesse Lee Peterson, Candace Owens, Charles Barkley, and the rest. Definitely Stephen A. Smith. I'll pass the mic there, Brother Forecast.
All right, and real quick for Roger, and I have to say this, because it's, for me, I'm saying it's not about semantics, though, you know what I'm saying, because I disagree with the most of, like, think about it, right, with W.E. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey, you know what I'm saying, like, I disagree that W.E. Du Bois was more effective to stop the Marcus Garvey move, because even when he disagreed with W.E. Du Bois, he got 1 million followers, you know what I'm saying? But it's when J. Edgar Hoover put him in jail, when he sent them away. He's the one who came up with the programs to infiltrate him. And while those informants go on, the system is still there. Like that is way more effective than anything W.E. Du Bois did. And that's what I'm saying. Like, as far as a whole, like, I disagree with the effectiveness, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just like semantics. I disagree with like that whole notion, like, because like after they come up with think tanks and stuff like that, all of that stuff is effective and is effectively keeping us, like, I understand, we don't even understand, and that's we have responsibility, and yeah, there's obstacles, but it's one mission, one goal. Like, whoever stands in the way, but it's one mission, you know what I'm saying? And that's to destroy the whole thing. And if they in the way, so be it. But we not be like, first we gonna do this, first we gonna, like, because no, like, you keep doing that generation after generation, and then we be in the same situation over and over, and then we gonna really not be trusting each other with our children, thinking we like, well, yeah, you can't go to because the black schools always act like this, and the black thing always do like this, because yeah, they is effective. No, no, the whole thing that they created has been effective, you know what I'm saying? The thing, we ineffective, if anything, you know what I'm saying? We not effective, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that makes us the most effective enemy, but the point is, we not effective at all, you know what I'm saying?
Can I ask you something, Brother Forecast?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you said that, because the thing that I have to do is, like I say, I always look at the record, and I look at the record in terms of what is, again, what's more damaging, or what is our quote unquote worst, and what is not our worst. Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington were more of a desegregationist, of a segregationist, mentality. Do for self, we're going to be in our own box. Whereas you had the talented 10th and the other side is more of a assimilationist. We can, this homogenized, we're going to be part of that society, whatever measure we are. Now, I look at the record where we're at today as African people. And I'm glad you said that, yeah, we've been very ineffective at a lot of stuff as Black folks. Now I want to ask you this question. Between the segregationists, do for yourself, we're going to do our own thing, cast out our bucket, whatever, or Black First, Black Star Line, things that are, which do you think is the more effective in terms of where Africans globally are on this planet? Which has had the most effective impact? The impact of Booker T and Marcus Garvey, or the impact of W.E.B. Du Bois? And is this impact, has it done us a favor? And are we competitive in this world because of whatever impact it is? So I wanted to just ask you that question there, Brother Forecast.
Well, with that question, I would say with the W.E. Du Bois, we more on some integrationist kind of stuff, and I think that has been more effective in at doing us damage. But like, there's a third option though that you left out. Like, both of those camps was infiltrated, like, you know what I'm saying, and investigated, like, because there's a whole thing behind both of the why they even have the camps in the first place, like, because they're that effective, you know what I'm saying, like. But I would say, just out of that, I would say W.E. Du Bois is like, you know what I'm saying, that is the you know what I'm saying, that's where we are today.
Yeah, and that's why I asked in terms of the record, because I didn't, sometimes, history kind of deludes us, and I wanted to see the record of where we are as African people, as Black folks on this planet. I say, what do we have? What do we own? What do we control as a result of whatever happened previously, to Black folks? And has it been good or has it been damaging? And that's why I had to ask that question. So thanks a lot there, Brother Forecast. I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Viral Drip, you can go ahead.
Yeah, peace to the live stream. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What up, my brother?
Loud? Okay, what up? When we say we are our own worst enemy, when I hear things like people blaming Ice Cube for playing a part in a movie that was just telling the story about what's going on in these neighborhoods, I mean, when you say something like that, we might be right. We can be our own worst enemies when we criticize something like that. It was never Booker T. Washington or W.E. Du Bois. It was both. W.E. Du Bois was talking about controlling the politics in certain areas. Booker T. Washington was on a more of a nation state where you control, if you own a house, manufacture a brickyard. He did a lot of good, but he paid a heavy price for being silent on a lot of things that was happening back in that day. W.E. Du Bois was a supreme scholar. Don't discount W.E.B. Du Bois. Read some of his books. I mean, he made some mistakes. He called out Marcus Garvey, and he later apologized. He made some mistakes. He
left out Ida B. Wells too, by the way. My bad.
Yeah, you correct. I love Ida B. Wells. I hope somebody do a movie about her. She was a soldier. But if I get off point, direct me back on the topic, Forecast.
Yeah. We are worse enemy. Yeah.
Where was I talking? We talking about Du Bois. He doing World War I. He talking about let's close ranks and end this war. And when he went over there and saw the conditions of the Black soldiers, how they was letting them down on the battlefield, he said, close ranks for what? So he said some shit that wasn't right, but he later, he corrected that. Man, I love W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington, some people called him a sellout. He was nothing like that. He was silent on a lot of things, but he got a lot of money for Tuskegee, and he did a lot of good. Marcus Garvey came later after he died. I'm hearing all this negative stuff about Garvey. Garvey couldn't get it popping in Jamaica. said some terrible things when he left Jamaica about Jamaica, but that's a different topic. I'm gonna leave that alone. I don't want nobody blocking me. Yeah. Man, what's going on today? I can't say we are our own worst enemy because it's somebody worse than us. You know, we can be cruel to each other at times, but I don't think that's the majority of us. The main enemy is white supremacy. You call it whatever you want, white aggression, whatever you choose to call it. It's the people that's controlling us, our everyday functions. Whether you don't think it's true or not, that's a different story, and I'm not going to debate you on that. But we all know the truth behind that. Look at what's going on. Have any of you heard about what's going on in New Bern, Alabama?
No, what's that?
Okay, apparently they're saying that black people weren't allowed to vote. This is predominantly black town or county. 80% black. And they just recently were allowed to vote. They said they elected a black mayor, and the old mayor got together with the city council and kind of blocked that out. Changed the locks on at the courthouse, all that where he go. It's some real foul stuff going on down there.
Yeah, I gotta check it out then.
Yeah. Check into that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Let me pass it to Black Magus because I want to show one last thing before we get out here. We've been on here long enough. And by the way, MG2 Black Magus and I appreciate y'all brothers too. Like this was a great conversation. And by the way, Black Magus, I nominated First Rifleman for the Booker T. Washington Person of the Year award. You know,
blasphemy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is blasphemy. You're right. I apologize.
I'm gonna unsubscribe, bro.
I apologize for that one. That was wrong. My bad, Black Magus. Go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't hear what you said, man. My stuff keep cutting out. I'm trying to get to a better area. I didn't hear what you said. You said you nominated First Rifleman for what? Oh, okay. We ain't starting mess. Okay. First, let me say this to Neymar in the chat. MG2 is actually speaking up for the people of Nigeria. He's actually speaking up for them finally kicking out the Western brought and paid for agent. You know, that's people like to bring up Africa as, you know, the example of we're our own worst enemy, but nobody ever wants to bring up the fact that just about every person who holds a political power, and it's easy to tell because they always vote, like people who say these things, they never look to see what happens at NATO, what happens at the United Security meetings, what happens at the UN Council meetings. They don't never look at that stuff. They always just want to point to the country once white media shows you, oh, look, them black people fighting again. Look, they're their own worst enemy. But nobody ever sees how the people who hold political power in these countries are brought and paid for, put into their positions of power or so-called power by the European and American machinations. Now, since we using nice little clever euphemisms and talking about things, I'm gonna bring in a movie. I'm gonna bring in The Matrix, and I hate using entertainment, but I understand that entertainment is one of the easiest ways to break through.
Hey, you better not tell me you watch TV, bro.
Well, look here, I don't. I mean, I got some streaming stuff that I might watch, but I disconnected from television in 2015. So, I made myself dedicated to this quote unquote black stuff. I'm gonna use The Matrix, right? In The Matrix, again, you have two different enemies. No, actually, you had three different enemies. And the movie portrays this very well. And showing you who the main enemy was, and everybody skipped over that. You see, they got you looking at the internal enemy. They got you looking at the tool of the enemy, but they don't have you looking directly at the enemy. Well, who was the enemy in the Matrix? Let me first ask you that. Have you seen the movie Forecast, The Matrix, or the first three original ones?
Yeah.
Who would you say of that series is the original enemy? Who held the most power?
The mainframe.
Right. Yeah. The architect.
There you go. Exactly. And so that's what we're talking about.
No, y'all kind of saying the dude that wanted to go back for a steak is we got to get rid of him first. You know what I'm saying? Because he's the biggest. There's always going to be a dude there
they
trying to
played
get
it
rid
like
of the steak.
Agent Smith was the enemy in that movie.
Yes,
But
Agent
the real
Smith.
enemy was the architect, which is the mainframe.
Correct. But who do they throw in there? They threw the internal enemy, right? They did it in part 1. They did it in part 2. They did it in part 3. They're going to keep throwing an internal enemy in there because your enemy has to keep you confused. That's how the battlefield is played. The enemy is not going to come at you directly. You know, this isn't the medieval days that the Europeans went through in their dark ages where they, you know, hey, I'm going put some chainmail on and a helmet and a sword and I'm going to fight this battle. They didn't do that. Our enemy isn't going to come for us directly. Our enemy is going to throw every single obstacle at us that he or she can before they come at us directly. You know, how many people play video games and you got some kind of tale where you got to go save the princess or something like that? I guess I'm dating myself. It was Mario Brothers. But how many castles you got to go through beating somebody who looked like the enemy before you finally get to the main Bowser character, right? Like, this is what we're talking about now. Don't get us twisted. We're not talking about genociding against black people. We're not, because trust me, there are only really a select few who I would say have to be knocked off immediately. And Jesse Lee Peterson being the main one, not the main one, but one of those. I don't think anybody on this thing would disagree with me with saying that Jesse Lee Peterson needs to be taken out. His words alone, his is treason against the ancestors. And that alone deserves and requires nothing short of a hanging, as my brother Bomani puts in his song, The Death of Jesse Lee. Yo, Jesse Lee Peterson, he could definitely be gone. But I'm not saying that the followers of Jesse Lee Peterson have to be taken out, because guess what? Just like the enemy understands that if you cut the head off the snake, the body will die. That is true, even when it comes to those black-skinned agents. You know, not all of them are dyed in the wool. Not everybody who's a black nationalist is dyed in the wool. You got some people that, well, let's just use the Panthers as an example. When they took out the leadership and got Bobby hooked on crack, what happened to these brothers? You had some who got locked up and went to prison. They came out trying to link up with their brothers who they were dyed in the wool being Panthers with. What these dudes doing? Superfly then came out, so these dudes got striking the perm, pimping, miscegenation, the quote unquote hyper masculine or false hyper masculinity. These dudes changed who they were. So what does that tell us? They weren't in it. They weren't as stout on it as we believe. So all we are saying is crush the head of the snake, and then we're going to recuperate those people. We're going to turn them into the warriors that we need them to be. That's the greatest thing that the Nation of Islam has showed us during the Elijah Muhammad days. I'm pretty sure some people will still use maybe the Farrakhan days as a good example. I don't know. I just know about, when Elijah did it and turned. I mean, and don't get it twisted even on that part, because those were some killers there. All he did was turn them into killers for him. That's all I'm saying we need to do. I'll pass the mic.
Man, I don't think I have.
Yo.
Hold on, because I'm gonna let it, because Bakari came on here, because I want to let MD2 say he was gonna say, and then Bakari, and then you can go ahead, Viral Drip. Go ahead, MD2.
Man, I love this conversation, man. You guys got me thinking, as always. And I'm glad, Viral Drip, you had brought something to mind. There was something, I think it was you that brought something to mind in terms of we should not be, discounting, for lack of a better term. I'm discounting what a lot of individuals did, whether it is W.E.B. Du Bois or Booker T. Okay, it's very important not to discount, but it's good to see the failings as well as the triumphs, so we could learn from those examples. I have to ask all of you what I just asked Brother Forecast. The fact that we're having this conversation alone tells you that something was more effective in stifling us controlling our destiny than something that's worse for us controlling our destiny. Something was more effective in us, the fact that we even have to talk about this on computers and technology that other men made for us to use, and the foods that they go ahead and give us to eat, and the protection that they provide us to fight because we don't have our own armies, and the transportation that we have to rely on them because we're not making our own cars or don't have our own gas stations and our own oil refineries and our own oil fields as Africans. Clearly, there is something that we have to rely on others to do for us to manage and maintain ourselves today, as well as being online. So clearly, something was effective in that happening. I call it the record. This is something you cannot deny. Water's wet. If it rained yesterday where you were at, you cannot say it unrained. That is a reality. The thing that I always try to say, again, a lot of times we'll look, again, because it hurts that inner thing that makes us valid. Sometimes we call it an ego. But sometimes when you step outside of that and think objectively and just look at something that's happened as something omniscient as a third party, you cannot deny that. It actually exists. Yes, there are enemies out there that may be worse for the things we do. But into the damage in terms of the record where we're at, by the conversation that we even brought up today, and by the things that every one of us on this conversation rely on somebody else to give us, including the technology so we could all talk, because clearly it was not us who made this. Clearly something was effective in making this happen. And it was more damaging to us because of the fact that somebody else's destiny is controlled by us being consumers of their products, or their time, or their food, or their energy, or their medical care, or their so-called security and everything else. It's almost like slaves on a slave ship trying to go ahead and tell how important they are, but they're not necessarily realizing that they're still in someone else's ship. Clearly, you can't deny that. That's the record. Okay, that's something that cannot be undone. You cannot unring a bell, and this bell is ringing pretty loud. I have to bring that up for the fact that a lot of times, again, we look at the things that are very temporary and a micro. Jesse Lee Peterson, he's a joke. He's an unfortunate joke and a very damaging joke and an effective joke in order to go ahead and damage the psyche of others, clearly. Otherwise, his name wouldn't have been brought up. He's definitely effective in damaging that psyche. But a bigger one that's not a joke is the ones that produce him. Because once they produced him, they went on to a new Candace Owens, and you'll see who's next. Doesn't matter. It's like a manufacturing plant. If we concentrate on the micro, we'll never see the macro. As Brother Forecast was saying earlier, I'm not looking to go ahead and damage a T-Mobile store. I want to go ahead and destroy the corporation. Yes, the corporation is worse. The store is more effective because that's closer to you than the corporation. I'm just trying to say that once you, not you, but me, I have to say this for myself. Once that I can identify this issue, then that gives me the abilities and the tools to go ahead, not only rectify, but to capitalize on it for us. Once I know that, hey, if this is worse, I got to find out for myself, okay, how do I go ahead and be an opportunist to destroy the thing that's worse, but also go ahead and mitigate the thing that's more effective so it can't. There's a difference between an exterminator and a pest control. Exterminator, you bring him in, from what I believe, you bring him in one time, he gets rid of it. Pest control's there forever. But it doesn't matter, you still got roaches. Okay, you still got rats. Okay, so they got to get rid of it. The thing is I have to do that for myself. So therefore I can say, okay, when folks say, are we our own worst enemy? I have to say, well, possibly. I'm a contrarian. Maybe that might be the case. But all I know is what made that thing that worse? What created that so-called worse? How about I tell myself, I know it makes that thing more effective in destroying me. And the thing that made it effective might be the worst thing out there. Clearly it is. Again, I'm getting rid of all the roaches, not just one. So the thing is, I have to, and this is something I do for myself. Other folks are going to do what they got to do for themselves. But I do this in order to go ahead and delineate How do I go ahead and fix the problem? Clearly, we could go back again, like I did, to W.E.B. Du Bois and Garvey and Booker T. But then I look at where we're at today. Again, this conversation wouldn't exist if we, as Brother Forecast said, had been effective from the jump. Clearly. But something was more effective in making us have this conversation and rely on other men of other races to give us the things we need, want, can't do without, and ready to kill for. So clearly, I have to ask myself, what do I do now that I recognize this? The thing is, do you recognize it, or is your inner self of validation, we call it ego, so caught up in being so intransigent that you cannot see that even this might be a possibility? Doesn't have to be a fact. It's a fact for me. It could be a possibility for someone else. But do you have the wherewithal? Do you have the introspection? Or do you have the ability to say, I wonder, could that be the case? I always say the mirror is the most important thing that's important that ever existed. Because it's the thing that everyone looks at, but they never study. They never know that the most not just evident, but the most exposed thing is the thing in front of their face they'll never see. And that thing is the ability to look at oneself and say, you know what, I wonder, could we be our own worst enemy? Or if not, what made that even a statement to even exist in the first place? To make me even say, are we our own worst enemy? What would cause that? So clearly something out there is a source of even that problem. That's what introspection does. Hopefully we'll have the ability to do that. I think so. I'll pass the mic.
Yo, that's all I'm saying. Like, yo, what is even like? That's the real problem. You know what I'm saying? But yo, what up, Bakar? And by the way, now I'm XB at MG2. MG2 is talking about solutions. Like, so MG2 is like one of the realest brothers. You know what I'm saying? You will meet, but like, yo, it's all good now, X. Yo, what up, Bakar?
What's going on? What's up, everybody? The panel in the chat. Hey, I heard you was talking about earlier. I ain't gonna be on here long. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna go to sleep. Shit. But anyway,
that enemy making you go to no.
The enemy.
Don't do them like that, folks.
You were talking about cutting down. You was talking about getting to the root, right? I don't know if you ever cut a tree or not, but if you've ever cut a tree, you cut the limbs sometime before you get to the root. If you ever you're doing real tree cutting, you're gonna cut the limbs way before you get to it. Way before you get to the root. So when people say black folks is their own worst enemy, this is not about whether I agree or disagree, but it's about the enemy that you can see. Even when y'all use the matrix, y'all say the mainframe was the worst enemy, but don't nobody see the mainframe. They see the person that's doing the damage. So that's why those words will come out about who is the worst enemy. And the enemy that you see tearing up, the enemy that you see willing to pimp their women, get the community hung out on drug, rob, steal. The ones that would go in, I don't know, got a brain freeze. What's the lady name who sat on the bus in Alabama?
Rosa Parks.
Yeah, the people that would go in her house and beat her when she's 80 years old to steal from her. That's the enemy people see. Now we can say somebody else is controlling it, but I don't think somebody is controlling everything. I honestly believe we give white people too much power at times because I don't think they're controlling everything. They have created a system. They have created a system that we're in. But when we say they are doing it, so I just use some examples of what people can see when people see certain things and why they will say the things they say. I don't agree with it. But when they say that's what they see. Now that's some people. Some people, on the other hand, it's easier to ignore. It's easier to ignore the other people than it is to ignore your own, because we know when you deal with other people, there's consequences. But when you're dealing with black people, there's no consequences, right? So when we look at ourselves in MG2, something I always say, you have to look in the mirror. So when we look at the mirror and some of the things that come out of our mouth, I've heard so many people on social media since Carly Russell did what she did in Alabama, talking about how bad that made it for Black women and children. No, it didn't. It embarrassed her and her family. 400 years or more of this BS we have gone through. Her one lie didn't make it bad. It's several instances. It's several instances where you can see where, okay, they just didn't believe Black folks no way. Then come to find out, oh my God, I can just name two. Kansas City, when the white dude was picking up Black women and they refused to believe him till they found till one of them escaped and the dude had raped and murdered like 3 of them. This little 12-year-old boy who ran away and they begged and they went, who got away from people, and he coming back telling them, and he said, this is where they kept me at, and they said they were going to kill me, but when they went there, they could tell. Well, they didn't see those people because they had left, but they saw somebody back there with guns. They saw where somebody had been back there shooting with guns because they left their target practice up. They left all that up. So when we can find one incident out of 400 years of mistreatment in this country and say that person made it bad for Black women and children, we're going to have to look in the mirror because we are ignoring what these people have done. That's why I say some people will ignore it and gonna put, and others don't see it. If you don't see the enemy, the person right next to you trying to do something to you, that's the person you're gonna say is my enemy right now. So I'm not saying they're the worst enemy, but like I said, if you ever cut down a tree or you watch people cutting down real trees, you go watch, man. I ain't talking about cutting down the branches in your yard. Go cut down trees. You cut the limbs. They cut the limbs before they get to the tree and snatch the root out the ground and kill the root. And because it's easier sometimes to get to the root that way when you get rid of what's around you. On that, I yield the mic.
And you know what, Bakari, just because you sound tired, I'll let you off the hook because I ain't even gonna take it there. But like, there's another part of this conversation that y'all ain't even having. Because like, Bakari, was you gonna be at the top of the tree cutting the limbs, or was it like in the middle of the tree, or where do you start? Which limbs do you decide? Because some limbs y'all love these limbs to climb on them all the time.
They cut all. I'm just saying.
All right.
Have you ever cut a tree? Have you worked with in that?
Nah, I never cut no tree. No.
Literally, they will cut all the limbs before they get to the tree and get to the root. And I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is sometimes that limb next to you is the enemy in your way that's keeping you from getting to the root.
It sounds good, but it sounds like the roots then took hold again and then grew all the way up. That's all I'm saying. Because it's always the smoke for everybody else. But all right, so it's one last thing. Any y'all got anything else to say about this?
I want to chime on that Curry Rick Russell. My whole thing with that was the police knew she was full of shit, and they went and let it go out like it was a missing Black woman to begin with. And that's where we get back to somebody said it best, cutting the snake off the head, cutting the head off the snake. The police knew she was full of shit, but they fed it to the mainstream media and let them pump it all over this place. That's my whole thing with that. So, man, that's kind of foul, though, don't you think? Anybody want to respond to that? How the police knew that she was probably lying and this whole story was bogus?
Yeah.
But they fed it to the media.
Biodrip, this is what I'll say to that, right? Because I've said this. I only became acquainted with the story through social media. And once I seen it being broadcast all over the place. And the thing that I've seen being broadcast the most is that there was a huge disbelief. And so I just looked into it a little bit. When it comes to any case of a black missing person, I wholeheartedly dive into it, because usually the way I get the information is through people who do this 24/7, right? Who have their own channels dedicated to talking about black and missing people. So to see this one being pushed through the mainstream narrative, and she hadn't even been missing for that long, immediately I thought of the what's that? Juicy Smollett. That's the only way I can think of his name, is through the Dave Chappelle skit, Juicy Smollett, right in Chicago, where blah 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 happened, and here it is thrown all over the news. But what nobody connected was this was a ploy to get the anti-lynching bill charged up for the LGBTP people. That's what this was, because as soon as it happened, here goes Kamala Harris and Cory Booker calling it a lynching. Is exactly what they call. I mean, granted, also there was supposedly rope there and everything too, but that's why they started pushing the narrative, saying that, see, this is why we need to pass this bill. This is why we need to pass the bill. Like, it was straight propaganda. The same thing happens every time when we see the Democrats come into office. All of a sudden, hey, there's this is not to say that there were no mass shootings while Trump was in office or while any of the Bushes were in office. But when a Democrat is in office, we see, at least from my perspective, I see more mass shootings when a Democrat is in office, and way more talks about getting guns and enacting new gun laws and stuff like that. You know, all of these things happen for a particular reason. So that's how I felt about this. And I was glad that there were a lot of different people who I've seen coming at it, analyzing it that exact way. So to speak on what Bakari said about it being something that's going to turn out to be, you know, how he's seen some people saying that, you know, this is going to make it bad for black folk. Everything that he said is correct, in the sense that they didn't believe us anyway in the first place. So how is this going to make anything worse? The way I see it making things worse, it actually happened today. A prosecutor in Alabama has now proposed that anyone who does anything like this is going to be a felony going forward. So what does that mean? What that now means is, because we know that these people will lie on us, what it now means is, take the cases of these young girls who were kidnapped, raped, tortured, human trafficked, and then they killed a white person, a person who was raping them, attacking them. And what happened to every last one of those women? And I can't say sisters because some of them were mulattoes, but what happened to all of those women, right? They were held for murder. They were held for murder. And so the same thing is I think it could possibly happen in this case, where now we're going to get some people coming up missing, and they're going to find ways to blame it on the victim. You know, the victim didn't kidnap themselves, but they're going to find a way to blame it on that person. And now what do we have? We're going to put this person in jail. We got a new person go work the chain gang for us, because let's not get it twisted. Alabama is still the deep South.
Would you say, though, that that's mainly because of the white supremacist system we under, for them to enact laws like that?
I would say yes. I mean, because it's causality. Something had to happen to make somebody put this law forward, right? Whether it was something that was done only by Carly Russell herself or whether it was something that was constructed. It 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 it, it made this person come up with putting this as saying, hey, we need to make this a law. And so the law of the land in this country is white terrorism.
And yo, so and that's that's the thing. I don't want to talk about that sister or whatever, but the fact that we have to have the protect Black women is that's even the conversation. It shows how ineffective you have been up to this point. And, you know what I'm saying? And then the fact that it can go up there and then people attention do get drawn to that. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't get how the creation can be worse than the creator. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Like,
Brother Forecast.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
First and foremost,
you got to come up with a slogan to say protect Black women. That's some shit we always been doing, all right?
Yeah.
That's been number one.
Can I
go ahead, me too.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought up this thing with Carly Russell, but hopefully those of you who live in Atlanta, there's a young sister by the name of Roberson. I can't remember her first name, and she's missing right now. And what I'm kind of scared of is the fact that, whatever damage is out there, that we don't concentrate on this sister as well. I mean, hopefully we do, and she's not missing anymore, but I read that earlier today. I think I got it off 11 Alive on Atlanta. But anyways, I wanted to correct some things because I love detractors. Narmer X. Or whatever, Narmer X. There's a few things that I think you might want to, and it's not, it kind of helped me out. So this is something I think that might, send you on a direction that might be beneficial to you. First off, first and foremost, I am pro Niger coup, okay? Because of the fact that they've kicked out these so-called Westerners. Nobody should ever go ahead and beat up on anyone that wants to get freedom for an African people. And clearly, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are winning that. Thank God that Burkina Faso and Mali said, if these French and these puppets go ahead like ECOWAS and AU attack Niger, then Burkina Faso and Mali, true Pan-Africanists, are going to go ahead and fight on the side of our brothers in Niger. Thank God. Number two, again, one of the things, this Narmer X, that I want to just go ahead and put it out there. Sometimes we hear things that aren't really being said. Because and I'm not saying that's the case with you, but a lot of times we filter things through what we feel and not actually what has been said. As yours truly said earlier, you've got beauty, truth, history, facts, and evidence. That's in the eye of the beholder, as well as opinions. But when I tell you about the record, that's something I cannot tell you whether it's true or not because it actually happened. That is reality. The record of what's effective and what's not is what we're living today, whether it's Carly Russell, whether it's Niger, or those of us going ahead and talking on this thing that other men made for us called YouTube. Clearly, again, many people hear Narmer X, what's not being said, but what makes us feel things. I've never said that our enemies are great. United Snakes is not doing quote unquote great. I should know I made 100% my profits on some trades I made because of that interest rate decision. I actually traded the futures market last night on it. When they made that, when they got downgraded last night, and I love it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and make probably 400% on this weekend on that particular trade alone. This is what I do for a living, but that's okay. That's beside the point. The thing is, Narmer X, is our enemies are not great by any means. And if I could go back, I don't think I've ever said that they're doing great. Matter of fact, they're doing worse than than anyone could ever imagine, which means that clearly, if we see how effective they were, maybe they could be our most effective or even our worst enemy. Clearly, it gives us the advantage to say, hey, wait a minute. We are where we are because of a relationship. Clearly, the record. This is not just opinion. This is the record. Clearly, we are where we are having this conversation alone because of other individuals that you say, quote unquote, someone says are great. So clearly, if we see that they're having problems, clearly we have the advantage to exploit those problems and do better for ourselves with it. There's no such thing as our enemy being great, but I could say they're very effective in what they do. No different than we are, as Brother Bakari talked about the tree. I used to cut down trees when I was up in the forest in YCC camp. So I know exactly what cutting down trees are. I did it for months. And sometimes you have to remove the limbs. With some of them we call dead limbs because they're a tender hazard. Sometimes you have to do that in order to get to that root. Clearly, I understand that case. And as Brother Forecast says, unfortunately, many of us are on top of that tree. So we're just going to be cutting ourselves down. It's something of a situation, again, for us to have introspection to look at and say, hey, at least we know there's a problem that exists. Whether it started with W.D. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey or Booker T, or whether it's right now with Carly Russell. Clearly, there's something that we have to recognize, hopefully that we may recognize, that'll help us get the advantage. As I said before, this is not our enemy being great, quote unquote, in your words. But I have to say they're effective. Otherwise, why are we on their servers with their satellites, with their technology like phones and computers talking to each other and not something we made for ourselves? That's called effective. I'll pass the mic.
Yo, and real quick, just one line of MD2. What is the definition of racism?
As I've always said, the ability to, actually, I always call it wealth, but either way, the ability to control your destiny and be a protectionist while inhibiting the ability of your competitor to do the same. That's what I look at it.
Nearly Fuller said the same shit.
Yeah, facts. And yo, MD2 is one of the smartest people, and we go because I know Bakari tired, and me and Black Mag is going. Black Mag has introduced me to a Black radio program. I'll put it in the chat right now. That's the Black Radio Network. And Bakari, real quick, yo, I seen you talk about, but what is your opinion on the Jalen? You know, and by the way, thank you MD2 for you. I saw your joint earlier too, and thank you for that. But what's your opinion on the Jaylen Brown zone, Bakari?
Shit, I already did a show. I gave a shout out to Jaylen Brown.
All right.
For what Jaylen Brown said. That's what he said. So I go on what he said. He wanna start rebuilding Black community.
Okay.
Even if that community he's trying to build is an integrated community,
like minority. We need to get away with that minority and say Black.
Okay, hold on.
No, just let it no feedback on it. I just want everybody's opinion on it. You know what I'm saying? No feedback on it.
What he said was he want to start building Black communities. I'm going on what he said when he did the interview. I don't know nothing else about what he said. I know what he said about building his when he got the contract and when he did the interview, how he want to build Black communities and create something for Black economics and have investors, and we can do this throughout the country with Boston leading the way because that's where he lived. I can't talk about nothing else. I can't talk about nothing else I ain't heard. But you know, and just about everybody on here lives somewhere integrated, and that ain't me taking up for him. I'm just because I ain't never heard him say that, but I know what I heard him say. But when we talk about integration and how bad it is, shit, let's just look and see where we live.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I'll just get your opinion on it. I just wanted everybody's opinion. I don't think nobody's gonna have a better answer. And don't cheat off MD2 paper either, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the point though. And maybe you can argue, you know what I'm saying, that's the most effective, but I just look at it like the other way, you know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. But yo, let me do this because we've been on here way too long, right? And I'm gonna go through this quick, you know what I'm saying? So it's not long, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all kept mentioning it anyway. So look, you know, in Finland, you know what I'm saying, like they was like, yo, the one thing to solve climate crisis is to have less Africans throughout the world.
Our climate is to push abortion on Africans. He didn't say on Americans, he didn't say on Europeans, he didn't say on Arabs or the Chinese. Leave us alone. Finland's minister just quit. And the reason behind it is because his speech addressing the parliament went viral and he made a speech in the parliament where he said a solution for the climate crisis is to give more abortion to African women. He called the concept climate abortions. He also
all right, so y'all see that, and I guess It's the same dude
Finland's
with
minister,
the
Finland's economy minister resigned
pro
on Friday after facing
pan-European
scrutiny.
mindset, you know what I'm saying, by the way. So all right, and then I'll play just a few minutes
France
of it,
has
you know.
threatened to invade Niger because of the coup. And the French president said that the French interest is under threat. And he said that if they continue threatening the French interest in that country, then France will have no option but to invade. And the United States, which has a drone base in that same country of Niger, has also seemed to back France. In other words, we are going to witness what happened in Libya back in 2011 when NATO, that is France and the United States, bombed Tripoli every night for a whole month until the government of Muammar Gaddafi fell. Mali and Burkina Faso, which had the same type of coups in the year.
All right, and y'all can watch this on your own, you know what I'm saying? Let me see. The name of that is France to Invade. Y'all can look it up on your own, right? And then I'm gonna just play a minute of this because I will also want to see what y'all think of that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm only going through it quick because I don't want to be on here too long. So I'm gonna play some of this. It's Kill the Boy.
Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa. Attention.
A political slogan chanted in the early 1990s as a form of political consciousness by struggle stalwarts, Julius Malema, says this slogan is not going away and sponsored outrage will not prevent him from chanting a slogan synonymous with this country's struggle.
That is a court decision that must be respected. Those who have appealed it, they must go and fight it in court. We won, and we shall sing this song in line with the court decision. The Court of South Africa, an independent court, has made a declaration on this matter and is closed. This is sponsored outrage by Helen Zille. You know, black people, there are some black, clever blacks who are told by Helen Zille to get angry. Yo, Helen is angry, now we must be angry.
You're talking about the clever black people that they use, right? You know, by the way.
Eh? They wait for a Magogo with a wrinkled buttocks face. How do buttocks and wrinkles go into that's a face of a devil. A devil. So I'm not going to over-explain myself and not wrinkled.
I have to explain itself for like 10 minutes.
Afrikaner community as some white men arrived at the EFF headquarters. They were involved in a scuffle with EFF Secretary General Marshall Dlamini and Central Command team members Vianney Pambo and Snao Tambo. Malema said they should thank their lucky stars that they were not met with the full might of the party.
Yeah, it's not a place where we're scared of a white man here. Yeah. It's the only liberated zone in South Africa. Yeah. No white man comes taking chances here. Those ones who came earlier, they must thank their God. They must try it again. They must thank their God. It's not a playful area here. You can ask going to be undermined. We've got everything we need to protect this office. Everything. And we'll defend it with our lives. No one can come and take chances here.
All right, so you know, I don't know what y'all think about that, right? But at the end of the day, right? I don't know. Like, I'll let y'all speak first. Go ahead, Black Magus.
Hey, man, look here. Straight Black Pride movement we have a Malema must apologize to the ancestors campaign going on. See, when Malema first got the spotlight put on him, we been showed everybody that this dude was about that LGBTP stuff. We been showed this. And because he's talking a good game and Africa this and Africa that, but when you submit to homosexuality, when you say your ancestors were homosexuals, you are pushing a European narrative. Now, this one is definitely going on way different than I've seen it done with other African leaders or misleaders. But Malema has been shown who he is. I hope people don't get wrapped up in his pro-black talk and exclude all. And I'm not saying that, you know, all leaders are perfect. Some leaders say some negative things. But when you wholeheartedly submit to the agenda of your enemy while still talking, you know, pro-black or pro-African, people need to examine that person with a microscope. Watch Malema. That's all I got to say about that.
Right, I feel you, and then you know it was other stuff, but I will say this because I did definitely let y'all off the hook if that's the most. I'm trying to see where the line got to get drawn at, but we ain't got to go there. I'll let y'all off the hook today. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, MG2.
Yeah. First off, I was reading your chat, and I want to send it out to my new detractor and my new fan. Be careful what you put. Yeah, be careful what you post in quotes, double quotes, especially specifically, because whenever you double quotate, that's a direct quote of something someone said. Like I said earlier, many of our times, and this is to my number one fan, we say things or we hear things that were not said but make us feel a certain thing. So be very careful what's been put in double quotes, because that only makes everything you've posted tonight fallacious and to the point of a yarn that could only be spun by Hansel and Gretel themselves. So be very careful what you do there. Even in single quotes, which is a quote within a quote, you have to be very careful of what you put. Listen to what is said and not what you feel. And that'll get you that one step closer to intelligence. When you were talking about Jaylen Brown, I'm glad you said that, Brother Forecast, and I'm glad you asked Brother Bakari the question. When it comes to Jaylen Brown, a lot of us have a lot of things to say about others' activities. Now, he's less than half my age. Okay, I hadn't seen, what is he, like 27, 28, something like that? I haven't seen that in decades. Okay, that's clearly much less than half my age. So clearly I was able to go ahead and say one thing that I have to say to this brother, Jaylen Brown, who's quote unquote building what he calls a Black Wall Street. And I hope many other folks say it. And Brother Forecast, I'm glad that you didn't let it out there. I only have 4 words for him. I don't care what you do. All I can say is the fact that you said you want to bring something back for us. 4 words. How can I help? That's all I need to. Young brother, 4 words. What can I do? 4 words. What do you need? That's all I care about. If he's going to do something that can elevate us to the next step in order for us to control our destiny and take over, hey, if he needs somebody to sweep the floor, I'll go ahead and do whatever I can. He needs somebody to wash the dishes, I'm there. If he needs somebody to match dollar for dollar per capital and I can get a hedge fund or one of my friends in private equity to do it, then hey, let me see what I can do. How can I help? That's what I like in terms of anyone that sees that we have a vacuum in controlling our destiny, that we have a vacuum because we're relying on everybody else's products to do the things we should do for ourselves. So if whatever it takes for me to go ahead and you need somebody to take out the trash, shoot, I'll put on a jumper and I'll start going, call me Janitor Mike. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes in order for you to elevate you to that next step that's going to help us all. When you were talking about Julius Malema there, Brother Forecast, one of the things that I have to learn is whenever you're a so-called leader, as Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, the leader is the one closest to the enemy in pursuit. Julius Malema has a lot of charisma. Unfortunately, he's extremely misled, okay? Especially when it comes to this, this Brokeback. I mean, we're not talking Brokeback Mountain, we're talking the Andes. This is how crazy and unfortunate he is. One of the things is unfortunately, many of us do this because we follow charisma, but we don't listen to what Dr. John Henrik Clarke says. Who's really pursuing an enemy? Clearly, in Azania, the place you guys call South Africa, there's a lot of enemies there. We could call them Boers, we could call them Coloreds, we could call them East Indians, we could call them Asians, we could call them Pakistani. It doesn't matter. Clearly, there's a lot of enemies there. When you look at South Africa, for lack of a better term, I call it Azania, but just for simplicity's sake, look at what is it that those who are not indigenous of the area, i.e., our folks, like Zulu and Xhosa and and many others, have less than 3% of the wealth that comes from resources in that area. We could even include Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. Less than 3% of the wealth that's derived from those resources go to the African people. So clearly there's an enemy. Clearly something has not been, as we say, who's our worst enemy, and I say who's our most effective. I won't say Julius Malema is an enemy, but I'll say his ineptitude wrapping himself in a multicolored flag with some brokebacks definitely makes him very effective in us not controlling the other 97% of those resources that we're not getting as African people. So clearly it's unfortunate. And especially when he went against the Ugandan president, because Uganda said, hey, we're going to nip this in the bud. We don't want this here. And then you saw his reaction to that, which is, again, ineptitude. Clearly, he is not, for lack of a better term, all the charisma and all the good that you think Julius Malema is doing. Clearly, he is not close to an enemy in pursuit, because he's pursuing something else that's really an enemy of black folk, and that's these brokebacks in their ilk. I'll pass the mic.
All right. And Bakari, I know it's late for you, my brother. I'm gonna let you off the hook tonight, because normally I would have, especially on this one, you know what I'm saying? Because we already had this conversation a bunch of times, Bakari. And he might be asleep. You there, Bakari?
Man, I'm having technical difficulties. You can hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Can you? Yeah, I was having technical difficulties. What conversation we had?
Nah, because I was going to ask him, remember when me, you, and Blue had the conversation, if you had one bullet, who would you go after? I was going, because it's mad different layers to this, you know what I'm saying? I just bet the surface layer to why I disagree, you know what I'm saying?
So my thing is, when I said what I just said, even that conversation, sometimes, man, you get what right next to you. Because if you don't get what's right next to you, going to end up getting you. I'm just saying that we can ignore that fact. We can ignore that fact, but you can see the people right next to you, and ignore them and say they're not a threat. Then them the ones that are going to poison you, or shoot you, going to stab you in the back. Them the ones that are going to do everything because we chose to ignore them. That's just my take on it. And that don't mean they the worst. But like I said, when you cut down a tree, sometimes you get them limbs first. You get them limbs before you get to the root. Sometimes the tree might be small enough for you to just go straight to the root, where you can just go cut it down. But other times, you getting them limbs. Now, Julius Malema, right? The only thing I would say about that is South Africa is 85% African. Why the hell are they doing all that chanting? Shit, why they ain't just go run them out? That's the only thing that's the one thing I'll say about that. But I didn't know that they was talking about he supported the LGBT and he went against Uganda's president, right? My thing on that is, right, if they were fighting and they was getting rid of those people over there, can you use them? Because it doesn't make a difference who it is. It don't make a difference who it is. They put that mic in front of their face and people know who they are. You're going to always find something negative to say. I'm just saying, you can find something negative about everybody that you don't agree with. So now I'm going to come back, skip from South Africa, I'm going to do a round trip back to the United States, and I'm just going to get to the same point I said before. FAC, you made it about one man.
Hey, Bakari, you kind of going in and out, Bakari.
I went out. I'm having technical difficulties, man.
Nah, you clear now. It was going. I hear you, but yeah, you clear now.
Your Obama phone, Bakari. That's your Obama phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you good now. Go ahead. Finish what we hear what you were saying. It was just like going in and out,
Oh yeah, they trying to force me to buy. I'm on my phone. They think I'm gonna get another phone because this one I got ragged after 2 years.
I told you he got that Obama phone, y'all.
Joe Biden phone. Now he the president. First I had Joe Obama, then Donald Trump, now to Joe Biden.
You got a Biden phone? That's
Now
cracking it.
But the point I'm making is, right, sometimes I think we search, and I'm not saying nobody on the panel in the chat, I don't want nobody to think I'm trying to take shots at them. But sometimes I think we take shots because we don't want to stand up and fight. That's just my personal opinion. Even with the NFAC, regardless of what you thought, it should have been, instead of everybody wanting to beat it up and put it down, it should have been used for motivation, saying, look at that. And whatever they were doing wrong, we could have came together and did it better. I met them. I know some things, not like nothing, where they were selling people out. I know some things, but I won't say them here on social media because that's not my job, to beat up black folks who going out there putting their life on the line, leaving their family at home, 5,000 strong, standing toe to toe with what they call, what y'all call white supremacists. Ain't nobody supreme to me, so I don't use that. I don't think nobody's superior to black people, but that's my take. People have the right to use what they want to use. But it should have been used as motivation instead of searching for the negative. Can Julius Malema be used right now? That's the biggest thing. So if Julius Malema can be used, you use Julius Malema, then you get rid of what you don't want. It's just that simple. These people we dealing with, talking about going to war with, they do it all the time. We highlight Clarence Thomas. We just highlighted Clarence Thomas a couple months ago. But they do it to their own. They do it all of the time. That's how it's done when you're at war. You use what you can. And once you don't need them no more, you have gotten every ounce out of them that you can get. Now you get rid of them, whichever way it is.
All right. If I was you want to say something, then we're gonna close out. You mute, yo. You I can't hear you. You mute Bible Drip.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good now.
Malema, man, he a rider, bro. I got nothing but love for that brother. I don't agree with his stance about this LBT, but I understand that that's just the humanity in him. You know, the penalty up in Uganda was kind of harsh. I don't agree with that. You know, people gonna do it. People gonna do it. You know, that's just human nature. It's been around forever. I don't agree with it. I love me some black women. I love women, period. Especially if you fine as hell. But that's a different story. But yeah, Malema, he been a soldier, man, all the way, bro. Some of the things he's saying about how they treating, calling other Africans coming into South Africans, immigrants, and how that all black people should love each other. He made me start trying to learn Swahili. Say we should all come up with a common language, Swahili. I agree with that shit. I really do. He never said nothing really wrong to me about taking back the farm, the land in South Africa. Man, who over in Africa talking like that? Talked about what they did to Gaddafi, which was some bullshit. We talking about having our own shit. The things Gaddafi was trying to bring about would have probably crushed the West, where they was planning on having a central banking in Africa and running off a gold dinar, which would kill the dollar. If any of you know, the dollar makes its money off of a manipulation of currency. They charge you money. They charge you to buy the U.S. dollar to purchase oil. That's how they make a lot of their money. We really don't have nothing in natural resources. And I like what's going on in Niger. Get the French ass up out of there. That's the shit I like to see. I love that. I salute that shit. Control the resources in Africa. Get their ass up out of there. This was Dr. John Henry Clark's dream. This was his dream. Controlling the resources in Africa, it will crush the West. It would end, whatever you want to call it, white supremacy, white aggression. It's all the same thing to me. You can call it blue magic if you want to, put a chokehold on it and all that good stuff. But yeah, they about to be over. The thing that's transpiring, I've been watching all of it. The thing with Russia and Ukraine, it's a reason why they want Ukraine. They're trying to hold on to it. Meanwhile, it's other things going on in all these areas. China ain't no different, though. China ain't the answer. Get their ass up out of there, too. They just another colonizer. Control the resources in your area. That's what it's all about. And we talking about this thing with black people, our own worst enemy. I don't buy into that, man. I really don't. Because it's always someone that's got us in this situation. You got to look at the cause and effect. If you deprive people of resources, they're going to turn on each other. And it happens in every community, not just the black community.
It happened with rats.
Exactly. In every community. If you deprive somebody of resources, they will eat their own. And I'm going to close on that. Bakari, you need to have a room, bro, where we can just chop it up. None of this other stuff. Just chop it up on some country boy stuff, bro.
Yo, they're going fishing together, I'm telling you.
Me and Bakari might go fishing together, and we'll live stream it.
Yeah, we can go fishing.
Yo, just don't talk about ADOS. All right?
Out there.
Just don't talk about
Bakari, that's
ADOS.
what I
That's
do.
all I'll be.
Hey, Bakari, we'll go hunting, bro.
Yeah, we go hunt. Yeah, you know what? That's something I do. I'm going this year with my friend. My homeboy taking me deer hunting.
Maybe y'all catch some raccoon and eat it together, I guess.
No, we don't do that rodent. We don't do that rodent, folk.
Put them on it.
Forecast.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut off the camaraderie.
Yeah,
but I wanted
brotherhood, yo. But yeah,
I wanted to read this real quick. This is from africanews.com. Julius Malema recently said he was ready to join a coalition with the DA, the DA, by the way, is the Democratic Alliance, which leads a group of 6 small parties. But John Steenhuisen ruled it out last week, saying the EFF does not share the coalition's values and principles. Any prospect of reapproachment, at least at the national level, seemed ruled out on Monday. The DA, still largely perceived as a white party, could win 16% of the vote, according to a recent poll, against a 13% for the EFF, which notably advocates land reform favorable to Black South Africans. What did I just read? I just read that Julius Malema wants to work with the white people who does not want to work with him. Listen, the whole thing that about the premise of today's program, you know, we are our own worst enemy. We're our own worst enemy because, like I said, we are starved for knowledge. We don't understand how enemies are created, how enemies are made. Him speaking out for and up for LGBT people is not the humanity in him. The guy is an op, plain and simple. You're not going to be an African person in an African nation pushing a false narrative that the world, that those who are true-hearted and know our history knows that we are against it. We are against this homosexuality. We're against this pedophilia. We're against this so-called transitioning stuff. If you have an African leader who speaks up for it, that person is brought and paid for opposition.
Yeah.
Real quick. You know, I'm not against it. Whatever people choose to do in their life, that's on them. I love women, so that don't affect me. Do what you want to do. If you like booty, go get you some booty. Just don't bring it around me, because I don't like boy booty.
All right. All right, go ahead, Mr. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad that Black Magus, thank you for speaking my mind many a time. You know, and Viral Drip and Brother Bakari, you know, out there in the country. Oh my gosh, reminds me of when I grew up in Colorado. You know, elk hunting up there. I don't know if you guys count the points. I think East Coast, do you guys count elk with counting the rack with double points, or I think it's in the West Coast that we count it with double points and not saying, you know, like we have half rack. Like if it's 10-pointer, we call it, I think we call it a 10 and you guys call it a 5. I can't remember, but it's been years since I was a kid doing that.
Well, Corey, I ain't never seen no elk before.
You know, I used to work in the mountain, you know, amongst a gangload of our enemy, and they were the ones who skilled me at that. But anyways,
that sounds like Grand Junction, MG2.
I lived in Colorado Springs, but I went and worked up in Sopris, Redstone. Yeah, I was up in Grand Junction, Steamboat. You know, it's like 10,000 feet in the air. It's quite interesting. But anyways, I'm glad that Black Magus, when you brought up about Julius Malema, the thing that I have problems with, when folks proselytize what they do in the bedroom, that's the problem. In other words, they're trying to make you them. And that's something that I really, you know, that's sickening. Okay. Whatever they do in the bedroom, I don't want to know what goes on in someone's bedroom. That's like using somebody else's toothbrush or somebody telling you how their bowel movement was. I don't want to hear that. Okay. Just don't bring that to me. As Viral Drip says, you know, I don't want it brought around me. What you do in your bedroom is on you. Don't tell me about it. The thing is, unfortunately, is Julius Malema is actually proselytizing, especially going after Ugandan president. You know, saying, hey, you know, I want everyone to use our toothbrush. No, that's sickening. You know, oh, I want to show the world this is what. No, that's where I draw the line, because it just doesn't affect us and our own individual morals, but it also affects the children and the future. When as much as I like what Julius Malema says, and he says a lot of stuff that I really like, oh, I throw up my fist, Black Power, you know, Hotep. But then I have to say, especially after you read that thing on Africa News there, Black Magus, if he were to bring back, and I'm listening very carefully to what the Viral Drip was saying, if he were to get those resources, bring those back and grab it away from the so-called, you know, especially the 97% that Africans are not getting, my thing is, who would he go ahead and divvy it up to? You know, that's where I really get a major issue, because if he's putting on rainbow colored flags, that means that I know some of them are going to get it. If he's going out and making alliances with the Democratic Alliance, which is nothing more than a revert, it's a remix of the Boer Party. It just has these East Indians and what they call coloreds in it. That's all it is. It's an apartheidist party to destroy Africa. If Julius Malema is going to grab some of that resource, I'm afraid that they're going to get a piece of it, because that's, again, like Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, is the leaders closest to the enemy in pursuit. And to go back to the original construct of what Brother Forecast put out there, are we our own worst enemy? So clearly we're not pursuing the enemy out there that we should be. And the fact that even the possibility of a Julius Malema, or whoever it is, giving resource to the individuals that aren't us, clearly there is another enemy out there outside of the ones that don't look like us. And I'm gonna say, and I'm not saying he's an enemy, but he may be doing enemy-like things passively, whether it's putting on a rainbow flag or going around saying, yeah, I can work with so-called DA, because whatever he gets, they get. And if they are the major problem, or as we say parenthetically, if we say that, yeah, the apartheidists and white supremacy or whatever is our worst enemy, then if they get something that we could stop them from getting by not putting on rainbow flags or aligning with DA, then maybe Julius Malema might be, in my terms, a more effective, although unknowing, a more effective enemy. And that's something a lot of us, unfortunately, as I asked that question earlier, We are all more effective enemies in the things we do. Look at this data. As I told you guys many a time, data is the most expensive commodity in the world. I trade it every day. The thing is, this data in and of itself, this live stream has made more money for Google, made more money. And I'm not just talking advertising. You've got data, everything from data security to data forensics, to data analytics, to data in and of itself. That's why you pay for data on your phone. Some of you. The thing is, even then of themselves, the fact that we don't own and control this mechanism or even the satellites means we are our own worst enemy, because Google is not doing anything for black folk except making us feel good that we can talk. Clearly, they have not gone ahead and brought Black Wall Street back into Boston like Jaylen Brown's wanting to do. I have not seen Google do it. I have not seen T-Mobile do it. I have not seen Verizon or anyone else do that. So clearly, even this conversation alone makes us our own passive. And I'm not going to say we're doing it, oh man, I got to hurt Brother Bakari. No, what I'm saying is the fact that we don't own and control the things that we rely on other folks to do for us makes us, unfortunately, passive enemies of our own existence. Where did you guys buy food this week? Where did you go shop? What black supermarket did you shop at, and who brought them their food for you to eat? Was it a black trucking company? Trucks were built by black folks and Africans? No. So clearly we are passively our own quote unquote effective, not worst enemy, but effective enemy. Meaning you guys have jobs. And a job ain't nothing more than you selling your hours. You're selling your time, and time is the most precious commodity in life, for the human species or any species, because that's something that we know runs out. It's finite. The fact that you've given many of you guys 8 hours at your jobs now. Unfortunately, you have to do that in a society to eat, but still yet that's passively getting you away from controlling your own destiny, because clearly you're doing something for somebody else. That 8 hours that you're not going to get back belongs to someone else. So passively, you were your own enemy. Not saying that you wanted to be that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying just a very simple thing. Whether it's Julius Malema, whether it's the Carly Russell versus the sister that's missing now by the name of Roberson, whether it's Jaylen Brown trying to make a Black Wall Street, whether it's Julius Malema trying to go ahead and accept friends with Boers or whatever, whether it's Justin Lee Peterson, whether it's Jason Whitlock, doesn't matter. Or whether it's the so-called FBAs and the ADOSs, or even us online. The further we are from being able to control the things that we rely on everybody else to give us, whether you want to call it worst enemies, effective enemies, passive, whatever, clearly it's not in our best interest. And anything that's not in our best interest is an enemy for us to be able to do the things we need to do. I'll pass the mic.
All right, and real quick, before I pass it to Bakari, because and I, like I said, I understand and I get where y'all coming from, you know what I'm saying? And then there's a whole second layer of this to why I disagree, you know what I'm saying? Because some of us will get stabbed in the heart by the limbs we supposed to be cutting off because we probably love them so much. Like we go sit there and argue about which limbs to cut off, you know what I'm saying? So there's a whole second layer to this of many layers, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, I don't know, but where are because now we got to start drawing a line about who is effective, who could we use, who we can't use, who we got to replace, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, with the exception of MG2 probably so far, you know what I'm saying? And maybe there is, maybe there isn't, you know what I'm saying? There is a weakness that I can probably name in everybody that most people would be like, well, this person is kind of, you know what I'm saying, cloning out right now, you know what I'm saying? And you accept this person, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole nother level to this, you know what I'm saying? To where you draw the line about being effective and not effective, you know what I'm saying? Because some people, y'all be like, oh, well, they not knowing and they whatever. But you know what I'm saying? If it's still so are they a part, are they major part of the problem too? There's a whole, but so I'm not going there though. You know what I'm saying? I got to get off of here. And Black Magus, I want you to sum it up. But also, my brother, we're gonna be on the radio station, Black On, right, my brother? Oh yeah, damn, my bad. Hold on, let Bakari speak. I totally.
Yeah. I was actually gonna ask if you could let everybody else go so we could close out with that information forecast.
Okay, I got you. But yeah, I forgot to let Bakari speak. And unless you're going to sleep, but don't close out because I'm gonna let you close out. But unless you want to.
For me, yeah, I'm gonna close out, but I have to ask Black Makers a question, right? And Beaver, I just want a straight answer. Now, do you think y'all can trust David Dukes, but because Malema say he might give a damn about some gay Black folks, he shouldn't be trusted?
Bakari, I was waiting, but I thought we was gonna save this for another program. So you have already answered when you spoke on the Matrix and the hidden enemy, and you already said that people will go for the enemy that they can see without realizing that there is the hidden enemy. It is not about trusting in David Duke. It is just about trusting that we can build, let's say, a front line that is not just held by Black people, a front line where there is the vanguard, who may be the people, well, let's say the vanguard, and then let's say the cavalry, and then let's say the artillery. And you being in the military, you understand what I mean by having, those different flanks, those different rows. Everybody has their part to play. Now, there has been, when we look amongst, let's look at the Zulus, right? When Shaka went throughout Africa to unite people, to be amongst that tribe, did he go around destroying people? No, some people seen the again, as MG2 said, the charisma, right? They seen that, they seen what he had going on, and they got down with that. Now, to do that with people who are innately savage, I have to believe that with I'll say my leader, the irritated genie, what I have to believe is that he is working on getting his troops in line, while David Duke is working on getting his troops in line. Now, does that mean that we form one army? No. What it means is that we have a united enemy, and that I have to believe that they're going to do their savage part, because they are savages. I'm going to say that they are savages, and I'm going to believe that David Duke is going to align his savages to do what savages do. And I know a savage to be brutal. I know a savage to be a berserker, meaning anybody who's around him, he's going to attack. Friend, foe, ally, comrade, it doesn't matter. He's just out for blood. And so therefore, his battlefront and my battlefront will be the same battlefront, but we have different marching orders. And that's what I'll say to that.
Okay, well, long, but once, like, for me, I'll rock with Julian Malema before I rock with the folks who I know what they done did to my people. That's just me personally. I ain't telling nobody else what they should do. Because when you say you got a common enemy, that means, see, and that's what I talk about when I say everybody gonna search for the negative in Black people. But people like David Dukes, the stuff, what they want to do to Black folks, somehow they can get a pass because they supposedly dislike a Jew, the same people that they have been working with all these damn years. Like I said, I would work, me personally, and I ain't telling nobody to do what I do, but I'll rock with Julius Malema before I'm gonna put up a front line and say, these are the people. Because when you say they're savages and how they slaughter and everything they did, all you got to do is think about your ancestors, and you will see the people that they have slaughtered and what they did. And we turn around and say, but the Jews told them to us. Can't nobody make me do nothing I don't want to do. Like when I was in the military, they told me to go to Kuwait to fight in the war. And I told them I wasn't going. Couldn't nobody make me do nothing I ain't want to do. I said, I'll go to jail. I'm man enough to make this decision, so I'm grown enough to accept the consequences. Can't nobody make you do nothing you don't want to do. Me personally, this is me, and I ain't trying to knock on nobody. I think it's a little, I think you don't want to face them. So instead, what they say, if you can't beat them, join them. I want to beat them. And I hate to say it, but whoever with them, I'm going to have to beat them too. Because I'm with my people and I ain't with them. And I'm saying that with all due respect and none but love for brothers. But I'll rock with Julius Malema before I rock with David Duke and them Klan members. And I understand why people left Garvey movement when Garvey went and talked to the Klan. I understand why they left. And Garvey, when people left, he never went back. Even though the people Garvey spoke with was politicians, they were senators. I know at least 2 of them were senators. They were in position where they claimed they could get something done. But when people left, Garvey apologized to his people because he understood his strength was with his people. He didn't stay with them. He didn't stay with them. He rocked with him. That's our best hope. Me fighting with folks, hoping those folks decide not to try to kill me no more. Every day we get in our car and go somewhere, just go walking or jogging. It's an opportunity for one of them to want to do something to you. And instead of going around the enemy and saying, oh, the Jews told them to do it. Now look at the ones in the face that's doing it, that you see. Then we might be able to get to the top. That's just me. On that note, forecast, I'm gonna get up out of here, man. Peace and love, peace. Vibe drip. We're gonna go trip, fish, to Black chat, everybody. Peace.
All right, yo, thank you, Bakari, for coming on here. Well, you know, that's the thing, you know, and that's a part 2 to this, you know what I'm saying? Where are we drawing the line? Because like I said, maybe with the exception of MG2 for right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, when we be like, yo, like people who are like, because like I said, you're going to have somebody, just like somebody's always going to be like, well, you know, Marcus Garvey did such and such. But the thing is, even in these circles, these lines start to get drawn real thin. You know what I'm saying? Like, I forget what the expression is, a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? Like, because now we starting to get into a slippery slope when we saying, you know, all of this stuff. And that goes to show like the whole complex network that was like set up in the first place by like people who was extremely more effective, more, you know what I'm saying, or definitely did worse things to you than we ever could do to ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And all of the above, you know, like I don't get how we don't see how the creators of it isn't like the creations is not worse than the creator. You know what I'm saying? Like, how could we not understand that? And I totally get the part. Maybe I would say like, okay, well, us not taking control and doing that thing, you know what I'm saying? But you know what? We were, and then they made strategic plans to counteract that. And then we didn't counteract it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was effective in that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, when it comes to the Civil War, some people that we love, you know what I'm saying, is going to get cut by some people who I trust a lot more. And you know what? A lot of people love won't make it. It's easy to be like, yo, well, First Rifleman is a clone, you know what I'm saying? But when we start talking about people that you love, it's a bit difficult, you know what I'm saying? That's the part that everybody be leaving out when we say, like, we gotta, you know, because that would include a lot of people that you know too, you know what I'm saying? Like, hell, like, the truth is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't say that my mom is a clone like that, but she is, like, you know, where, oh, I ain't going to that black thing, I ain't supporting this, I ain't worried about this, you know. That was just a detriment, like try to train me to be like a Democrat and all of that stuff. How is that not dangerous? That's is effective. So like, yo, no, it's not the most effective. The most effective thing is when they start making you go to their school or bringing the guns to your house and say otherwise. Because you know what, black people did say otherwise, and you know what, they showed up with the guns. You know what I'm saying? They use effective methods. They do it. You know what I'm saying? They spill your blood. You know what I'm saying? They are definitely the worst. You know what I'm saying? But Black Magus, you say you want to go last. MG2, you want to say something?
Yeah, Brother Forecast, you hit the nail on the head every time. You know, I got to hand it to you. I mean, I love conversations like this because you guys get me thinking. You know, you give me ideas, new ideas. First off, I was wondering what happened to my favorite fan, my number one fan, Narmer X, I was going to invite Narmer X to come look at some of my charts. You know, so that way we can make some money together. You know, this downgrade of our quote unquote best European friend is definitely an opportunity for us. United Snakes is in a lot of trouble. And when I say United Snakes, that includes France, Britain, Italy, and all the other, destroyers of African life. They're in a lot of trouble.
The Five Eyes.
Yeah, and I'm loving it. Okay, this is back in the 60s, Maddie Humphrey was a singer back in Philly, and she said, the bomb has already exploded. This is the fallout. You have never seen such joy that you see the chaos and confusion that our competitors, our enemy, or whatever you want to call it, the situation they're in. The unfortunate thing is, as Brother Bakari said, that they've unfortunately infected a tree we need to get to the roots of. And the thing is we have too many limbs that are sprouting out that are spoiled. I mentioned some of them. Of course, Jesse Lee Peterson is definitely one big limb, as Black Magus was talking about, that is definitely spoiling a tree. And that tree is us being able to go ahead and control our destiny. I'm always talking about controlling our destiny. The thing is, it's not necessarily a question of who's the greater enemy or maybe even who's the most effective enemy. The key is how to go ahead and make sure that you destroy enemies on the outside. Because you ain't gonna have no enemies on the inside when the enemy of the outside is gone. Okay, it's gonna be a lot harder for enemies on the outside to make them on the inside when there's nobody out there to make them. I mean, it's just common sense. The thing is, that's more important is if we see that this enemy on the outside of our doors is having some problems, as Narmer X posted earlier and I traded earlier today, the fact that their own credit agencies are telling them, look, Peckerwood, you ain't got no more credit. That is no different than somebody trying to get a loan to go ahead and buy a PlayStation, and they're saying, hey, man, you've got a 400 credit score. Sorry, you can't get it. That's what just happened, not only to European, i.e. United Snakes, that's what's happened to all of them right now. If that's not an opportunity for us, then we got some major problems. And that's just 1%. The thing is right now, when we're talking, whether it's Julius Malema, whether it's Niger, whether it's what's going on in Chicago, I don't care what it is. If we're not looking at this saying, okay, we see the problems we have, we're not going to amplify those problems by hanging out with David Duke. David Duke's looking out for his own, clearly. What we're doing is we're going to make sure we fix whatever problem we can, but our focus is going ahead and taking all the resource and possibly the lives of the David Dukes. Hopefully we do that, because they're there for us to go ahead and put them in a grave. I would love to see David Duke fertilize my orange grove. I don't have one, but I'll buy one just so he could fertilize it for me. That's the mentality of those who know what enemies really are. It has nothing to do with liking and disliking and how I feel. I haven't gotten mad at anything in years. I don't even know what emotion is anymore. But one thing I do know is I know it's effective. And I know it's effective for us to actually take over and control the planet. That's all I want. I want us on top. As I say, King of the Mountain is not a multicultural sport. It's Hunger Games. And everybody else looks at that. King of the Mountain is Hunger Games, except for us. Whether we're going ahead and having conversations with David Duke or whether we're out there with the Brokebacks and DA talking about we want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. The thing is they understand, irrespective of how much we sing and hold hands, they know that this is Hunger Games and we are District 13, ready to go ahead and hear cannons kick us off the planet. What I look forward to, Brother Forecast, is not who's the worst enemy or who's the greater. All I want to do is make sure that we know that we can't be enemies of ourselves, passively or actively. And those who are, we know that we don't want that in our circle because that will make us enemies of ourselves, Jason Whitlock. So we could recognize our strengths. So we could recognize, okay, we know who's there for us, we know who's not, but we know outside of those doors is something that's going to make us great. And that, as I always say, is all others must fall. When I say all others must fall, hashtag AOFM or AOMF, that means anything that is not indigenous to that African continent that believes, as Brother Khalid Muhammad said, color, culture, and consciousness, and I'm gonna add commitment. The folks that are out there that are doing things for other folks, whether they're Brokebacks, DA, or David Duke, all I know is they're not with us, or at least they're not in our best interest at this present time. All I care about is making sure we are on top. I don't want to share. I don't want freedom. I'm at the point where I don't even care about so-called justice. What I want is I want us to conquer, take over. This planet has to, it's not going to be a Public Enemy song that somebody has to fear of. I want them to recognize that this planet has no other choice but to be black. Hopefully, many of us will adopt that mentality. I'm not here to go ahead and sing Kumbaya. I want it all. I don't want some of it. I don't want a little bit of it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to go ahead and enjoy part of it. I want it all. Whether it's Russia, Malaysia, whatever. I want us to control it all. I want everyone else, as I say, to be like vassals or be like mortals, groveling to the knees of every black folk on the planet. I want us not to have our feet touch the ground because of how many bodies we have to walk on. That is the mentality of someone who looks, as some folks say, black first, I say black only. That's the mentality of folks that recognize that the enemy is the enemy, the effective enemy of the folks that don't want that. And the worst enemies we have out there, Brother Forecast, are the ones who are going to prevent us from taking over this planet. Y'all take care. Thanks a lot, Brother Forecast.
Yeah, all facts, MD2, all facts. And that's the thing. It's only one war, you know what I'm saying? And anybody in the way, you know what I'm saying? We obviously know is a problem. But the point is, we going for, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're going for Skynet, you know what I'm saying? Y'all use the Matrix, you know what I'm saying? Neo never escaped the Matrix, did it? They got a remix in 2022. He's still in there 65 years later, you know what I'm saying? I seen that one too. You know what I'm saying? Like, he never escaped the Matrix. He never got his people out of the Matrix. You got like 5 people out, you know what I'm saying? But you know what? The system is still the system, and that has to be destroyed. We're dealing with something that never been destroyed before, you know? And MD2 is spot on. And I don't mean to keep going and stuff like that. So I'm going to let Viral Drip go ahead and close out.
I want to touch on Jaylen Brown. Salute to him, man. I just hope he get the right people around him to make that work. You know, any athlete or entertainer doing something like that, you know, I hope they just have the right people around him and make that, you know, a positive, you know, even if it's a 2,000, 3,000 jobs in that area in Boston would be a win to me. And we could hope that maybe that sparks some of these other athletes in the position that we have helped place them upon to do the same. Yeah, and I'm gonna close it out. Thanks for letting me speak. And where'd Bakari go?
Bakari is asleep already. Yeah, he's asleep already. All right, Black Vegas.
All right. So let me say this. And let me not be any unabashful way about it. Nobody, I don't know who here might know each other personally. So nobody knows how intrinsic our feelings, our thoughts, our mannerisms are, except for us. But I like to always tell people where I stand on things. And I like to be genuine and authentic in everything that I do and everything that I say, because that reaches people better than anything else. I'm a person who cuts people clean the hell off. Don't believe me? I can introduce you to my entire family and they can all tell you, yeah, he cut me off for a minor thing for 15 years. It's because I've always been a morally based person. Always. It has been ingrained in me. So if somebody I see talks about doing something for the benefit of Black people, then I'm going to do just like the court system does. I'm going to do just like the medical industry does. I'm going to look at your history. I'm going to check the records. That does not mean that some people can't change. People can change. People change all the time. But I'll say it like the B1 Brigade does. Now that something didn't happen to you, you want to come over here to the black community and start talking about you black first. I'm not believing it. I'm not believing any of these entertainers, actors, any of that. Just as I've told Dwayne on here, you can probably actually do what you say you're going to do, but I'm never going to trust in you. Not until people can come to me and say, nah, man, you're wrong, because this is what this person did for me. This is what that person did for me. Blase, blase, blah. I need the evidence. Evidence in time immemorial in this country has showed us that athletes, entertainers, brought paid for people have always been the same tool used to get black people in line, follow the narrative. Hell, how long have people been following LeBron James? How long have people been listening to LeBron James talk a good game? How many times did people hear LeBron James say he wasn't messing with that shot? Now all of a sudden, here you go, nah, man, me and my whole family, we got it. And what did we just see happen to his son? We got to get off that train, but I ain't gonna force nobody to do it. You go believe in somebody. I'll tell you, like Baba Imhotep out of the Pan-African Liberation Movement out of Baltimore told me. He said, everybody has their own Babas, their own Jegnas, their own Sabas, their own people who they look to as being leaders. I asked him this as I was talking about these charlatans who many like to call elders, who I call olders. He said, you know, it might not be that person might not be speaking with what moves you. They might be speaking what moves others. And so that might be that person's elder and not yours. So if y'all want to believe in these folk, go right ahead. But I'm telling you now, my wife will tell you, 80% of the time in my marriage, and we've been together for 17 years, I've been right 80% of the time. And I'm quick to tell you, I told you so. I'm petty like that because it's going to take a hard ass whipping for some black people to really realize we got to take a moral stance, man, or we're going to continue to repeat the issues, the errors, the downfalls that have led us to where we are today as a race of people. So
What you
when we
think
talk about
Kyrie Irving?
what I think about Kyrie Irving,
Yeah.
I don't have much on him, to be honest with you. I'd say that the words that he used were powerful at the time that he said it, in conjunction with Kanye. It were powerful in that moment. Now I don't know where he stands at it now. If you say so,
Hey,
then
he out here helping folks. You just don't hear about it. A lot of these guys be out here helping people,
brother,
but you just never hear about it, bro.
That's good for them. I'm not budging on what I said until I can see it, and I'm not talking about over social media, because I'll use LeBron again as the quick example. I'm trying to hurry to close out. I'll use LeBron as the quick example. Everybody got on the LeBron train again when he building the black school. You don't know what you're talking about. He building the black school. You don't know what you're talking about.
A black school.
And exactly, it was not a black school. And when they came to find out what was happening over there, black children do not benefit because they're still teaching white. They're still teaching.
Let them finish. Roger.
They're still teaching the same white curriculum to get black people to be on board. That's when you put your children in any kind of system that is the construct of your enemy, you are teaching your children to be integrated. That's what you're doing. You're sending them to be integrated. LeBron James had no black senior faculty. The people who helped him even get that thing started, all white people, all white Jewish people. So you're not going to sit here and say, oh no, it was a benefit. Then we're going to go right back to the whole Bakari HBCU thing. And I'm not trying to do that right now.
Will get a college education by going through that school. So
brother, that's good. It's good that that's what you believe. Just it's good that that's what you believe.
Yeah, hold on, Roger. Let Black Magus finish.
But like I said, when it all comes downhill, I'ma just say I told you so when it happens. So when it comes to the leader, the elder, because the brother hitting 50 this year, so he's turning into an elder. The irritated genie. Everybody who talks about what he's doing has not watched one single program that he has done. Not one. Nobody has watched where he started. Nobody has watched what he's doing now. Nobody has called in to WSYP Sankofa Radio every Monday.
Man, the irritated genie been around for a while. What did you say?
I'm talking about what he's doing now, brother. I'm talking about what he's doing now. Nobody has. I haven't. I've been around and I've listened to all the calls. I'm on the program every day when he's on. I don't hear any of the people who are detractors call in to express, because the brother is free to be approached. Brother Bakari is in the Telegram groups with us, but he doesn't. But he doesn't
agree with something he say. I talk to him. You know, I ain't got no problem.
And that's what I'm about to get to.
Like I'm speaking with you, bro.
So that's what I'm getting to.
Agree on everything, bro.
Hey, Black Magus. Real quick, I used to listen to Sankofa Radio before they changed the URL, and I've actually given tens of thousands, almost $100,000 to Irritated Genie for years. So yeah, I supported when he first started with War on the Horizon. PKV, tens of thousands between PKV and War on the Horizon. So I'm very familiar with what he does. I'm sorry, I wanted to go and just kind of put that out there. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm not saying when he started with PKV to War on the Horizon. I'm talking about specifically where he is now on the battlefield. The people who talk about I don't support, and granted, you don't have to support it. Like, everybody does not support everything that their leaders do. You know, everybody who turns into an actual leader is a microcosm of everybody who they ever look to as an actual leader. So I'm a student of Irritated Genie. I'm a student of Khalid Muhammad. I'm a student of Dr. John Henry Clark. I'm a student of so many people that make me who I am. Now, that doesn't mean that I agree 100% with everything that all of those leaders said. Sometimes we all have to go out with our own experiences to see if the way that we interpret the information works for us to be able to use in a positive manner. That's it. What the brother is doing is what he believes, and I support him on that because I know what it is that he's doing. But again, I don't hear the people who have an issue ever bring it up to him. So on this Sunday, you can go to DC Radical and the number 1. Again, DC Radical and the number 1. Go to that YouTube page and get ready for this Sunday. We're bringing Genie on. If you have anything to ask the brother, to say to him, bring it there. Ask to join our Telegram groups. Bring the conversation and bring the conversation there. Trust me, he is very approachable. Now, to finally close this out, tomorrow, please join in on WSYP 95. What's up?
That nigga be having some fly.
You were saying something, Viral Drip?
That nigga be having some fly ass shirts. Where can I get one of?
Bro, don't all right. You totally disrespecting now, bro, by calling them an N-word. Come on now.
Just giving them props.
Bro.
Just go ahead. Say what you was saying, Black Magus.
So tomorrow, everybody, please, if you can, WSYP951.com. That's the URL of MG2. WSYP951.com. That's Sankofa Revolutionary Radio. I will be bringing.
I've listened to it for over 2 years. I think he was on there 2 years every Monday. He does Irritated Genie does a program. You've got a lot of doctors. Sorry for cutting off, but yeah, I've been listening to Sankofa for a while.
Okay, yeah. So that's the URL as it is now. Tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern time is what? 9 o'clock Eastern time. 8 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 6 o'clock, and these are all AMs, by the way. 6 o'clock Pacific Time is going to be the owner of the radio station, brother attorney Anthony Muhammad. He holds his business hour program at that time, and I'll be co-hosting tomorrow as we bring Brother Forecast on, because we're touching out to the youth. Forecast can tell you he tuned in today and listened to another young sister. And we're trying to bridge this gap between the youth and the elders. And that's something that I'm planning on doing by bringing the Brother Forecast on to express his opinions to an elder. And since I foresee Forecast being a historian for our community, I'm going to link him up with an elder who I know to be a historian, a direct student of Dr. John Henry Clarke. And I've seen this elder's library. I've been to his house before, so I know where his mind is, and I know how he's going to help the Brother Forecast out. You can also call into the program 205-417-7552. If you want to ask any questions, please support the Brother Forecast and just listen in. If you get a chance to call in, please do call in. That's all I got to say. Hotel.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we're gonna be on there at 9 East Coast time. So yeah, I appreciate my brother for put me on. I didn't know about it, you know what I'm saying? And I was listening today. Shouts out to that sister that was on. And Black Magus, you could put the number and then also your IG in there if you want to. I ain't have a way to put it up right now.
Yeah, and I am starting the IG back up. I did forget to say this. It is Black August. We're practicing Black solidarity. We're practicing Black fitness. We're idolizing our heroes who came before us. So we're doing it with a Black fitness challenge. Get 100 miles in for this month. I don't care if you got to walk it, crawl it, swim it, bike it, jog it, hike it, cartwheel it. Get you 100 miles in. Get fit. And don't make just August the time that you do it, but this is what we do to show solidarity amongst our own. You can definitely go to Black Family Vanguard on Instagram, and you'll see that, hey, I'm posting every time I'm doing it. I did it last year with my family. My family is doing it. My wife is uploading everything on hers. Like, we're getting it in, and people who I know are getting it in as well. You know, if we can't take care of ourselves, to hell with any enemy.
Black Magus?
He cut off, but he's still there. I think he can hear MG still.
Okay,
hear me
I
now?
just want to say,
Yeah.
Black Magus, I saw that 100-day challenge on Instagram. You are a treasure for Black folk, without a doubt. You are a treasure, especially now that Brother Forecast is going to be on the radio station. I'll be tuning in as always. I can't thank you enough, Black Magus, especially when it comes to fitness challenge. All I hope, you just do me one favor and just go ahead and find a way to clone yourself, and I'll be cool. Brother Forecast, I appreciate you 100% for this program. Just wanted to put it out there. We've only got one shot at taking over the world, because King of the Mountain, as I say, is not a multicultural sport, and let's just use our bullets wisely. On that, thank you there, Brother Forecast. Y'all take care. Hotep.
Yeah, and MD2, like he maybe I shouldn't tell y'all because it's not for what y'all would think, but like he talks about productive things like, like with the stock market and all of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and investing your money, but it's for the purposes of controlling our own destiny. You feel me? And that's the illest way that you can ever get a financial advisor, is one that is Black only, as you say, because it's time to upgrade some information. And the only reason why I say certain things like, like Marcus Garvey said, Black first, but like, we just upgrade to Black only, you know what I'm saying? Because we update our information, you know what I'm saying? And, that's the purpose of this whole show, right? Because you mentioned like Jaylen Brown, like y'all was talking about, I mentioned it, but y'all was talking about Jaylen Brown. And like I said, I don't want to influence nobody's opinion or nothing. I'm just saying, like, it's just interesting. Like, no matter what somebody does, like if I show like the sister talking about minerals, people will be like, well, she's scamming. Like, they don't know nothing. Like, just pay attention to the message. And then it's supposed to encourage you to do it for yourself, especially if you don't think that they can do it. You know what I'm saying? And and the thing is, because the name of the show is like our worst enemy, like I don't think we know what an enemy is, what a friend is, what an ally is. You know, we, and not y'all personally, but like we would say N-word, N-word, N-word all day, but scared to say a shyster, Jew, or any of that kind of stuff. You'd be like, yo, I don't say that over here. It's their channels, like MG2 said, like I think is important because we get to reach minds. I get to listen. Like I would have never knew about any of y'all, and y'all put me up to so much information. So I think it's worth it. It's valuable. You know what I'm saying? Because there is a cost and a value. It's just time that we get the cost and the, you know what I'm saying, the actual benefits from it, from everything that we put in, and understanding what is an enemy. Because I don't think that we know what an enemy is. Like even looking at history, like I don't care which group it is, you know what I'm saying? You can use people for certain things. It's just difficult for us to do that. Maybe you can teach the people born today. Maybe you can teach them. You got a chance with them, but not the people who is already born. They're done already. You know what I'm saying? But you can maybe show them how you can be allies with somebody. But I can tell you every group, like it's not just Europeans, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we got, you know what I'm saying? Like guess they used to say, if you ain't black, then you are white, you know what I'm saying? But that's just to use the terms. But I'm saying like we are all we got, you know what I'm saying? Everybody else, you cannot be at the top, you know what I'm saying? Somebody's coming for your throne, no matter who it is, whether it be the Asians. That's why I say Filipinos, because y'all call them the black Asians, you know what I'm saying? No, they're Filipinos, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, they're not. Like, all of them is our enemies, you know what I'm saying? And we are competing for the resources. I don't care where you want to go. Like, if we need resources here, then we should have an army to, you know what I'm saying? And I know I'm only saying this to kind of make MG2 mad. We got to do this, you know what I'm saying? I'm just joking, MG2, but I appreciate all of y'all for coming on here, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of conflicted because I wanted to show something, but I'm not going to do it, you know what I'm saying? So all of y'all good, right? Go ahead.
Always good there, Brother Forecast. I was hoping that you would show it.
Okay, it's like 18 seconds. I just had to show some kind of masculinity, you know what I'm saying? Sorry. I probably shouldn't have did that because now there we go. All right, so you know it was over. I just had to show that. My bad.
No, it's all good. I like to see brothers putting in work.
Facts. All right, so yeah, I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tune in at 9 a.m. This is the call-in number. So y'all call in, yo. Y'all support it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they had the young sister on there earlier. And, you know, I will even talk to, you know what I'm saying, Jeannie. Maybe and send me that joint when he live, you know, because I disagree with, you know what I'm saying, his way of doing it. Now, and I wouldn't go against him like that because he's another brother. He's not, I don't think that, you know what I'm saying, like some black people would say, oh, that would make you all worse. It's not, you know what I'm saying, like, so maybe I would definitely call in this Sunday at 8 p.m. Oh damn, I was supposed to have the Black History joint at 8 p.m. But I don't know. I'll figure out a way to do it. But all right. So yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Hey, Forecast, if you get a chance after this to hit me up, let's just go over the logistics of tomorrow. Quick 10-minute phone call and we can wrap that up.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna hit you up. I'm gonna call you right after this, you know.
All right.
So you know what? I'm gonna let Malcolm X have the last words, y'all. You wanted to say something? You good? All right. So I'm gonna let Malcolm X have the last words.
America is faced with her worst domestic crisis since the Civil War, or since the Revolutionary War. For America now faces a race war. A race war is worse than a revolutionary war. A race war is worse than a civil war. A race war is a war in which no holes are barred. A race war is a war in which children are destroyed, in which children are mutilated, in which children face the same destructive wrath that grown-ups face. A race war is the worst war that you can conceive. And this war, race war that is coming upon the head of the white man is something that he is bringing them on. The truth is that the Revolutionary War was fought on American soil. It is sheer hypocrisy, sheer ignorance, sheer insanity for our people here in America to celebrate the 4th of July as independence. His deeds are like the deeds of a snake, the deeds of a serpent, the deeds of a dragon.
All right, I messed that up, but y'all can look up that whole Malcolm X. Malcolm X had the last words. Y'all just take it like that. But I appreciate all of y'all. Make sure y'all tune in. You know what I'm saying? This is the number. Y'all go to this thing at 9 a.m. on my time, whatever time that is. So, and on West Coast, that is 6 a.m. on Midwest is 7 a.m. So yeah, I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate everybody who came in. Shouts out to Bible Drip who came on. Shouts out to Bakari who came on. Shouts out to Shanique. Raw is the realest. I can ask Raw what is the answer. She'll let me know right now, and the rest of y'all won't. But Bawana, Oni, Casidra, y'all show love to Casidra. She actually out here doing some realm in the bush. You know, Hardcore came for a minute, but then he realized, you know. Namra X, you know what I'm saying? Y'all, Namra X, go subscribe to MD2 and listen to him, man. MD2 is a real brother, you know what I'm saying? Inspiration to us all. You know, he's an elder, you know what I'm saying? So put some respect on MD2 name, you know. And shouts out to Namra in the building and everybody that came through. KW Don 7 was here for a second. Matron, shouts out to Matron because I used her video. So thank all of y'all. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.